everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome to a newest live stream from live from Toronto. As far as I'm concerned,
Yep.
as you guys may already be aware, I was sharing this very crucial information when I did post the latest vinyl haul video. I posted on this video. Lots of people were asking, "Hey, where do you live now?" And once again, have the pleasure to have Mike Vinyl Spiral with me on the panel today. How are you, Mike?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Hello, everybody. And yeah, I look forward to these ones.
Yeah, the same. We haven't talked that much behind the scene,
No.
which we usually would try to do every once in a while, just to prepare a upcoming live stream or just to discuss about what we are into at the moment. And yeah, it's been a little bit busy as far as I'm concerned, as you can imagine, with the move.
Yeah.
Already settled 100%, not 100%, but yeah. I thought maybe it's a rainy Sunday afternoon, the perfect timing to host a live stream. And I wanted to share, because I truly missed those Saturday. Now it's
Yeah.
Saturday, 3 p.m. on the East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's always a pleasure.
it is. We discuss about our latest obsessions, finds, or stuff we are into
Yeah.
at the moment. So yeah, Fred will be joining us probably later. He wasn't sure. Yeah, so he would try his best, but I'm sure we will have plenty of topics to discuss
We will.
anyway. So
We will.
we already have some people in the chat. Hi, Zeb,
Yeah.
fellow
Yeah.
member from the I think from US. I think, I'm not even sure.
Yes. Zeb. Zeb's a regular in the chat at
Oh,
Ian's
Ian,
as well.
exactly. Yeah, Zeb. Yeah. So
Yeah.
always nice to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. I see Record Hound is there. Another
Record
one.
Hound. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Norway.
Yep.
He's from
Yeah.
Norway.
Hey, Zeb. Yeah.
And my good old friend Philosphere. Hi, Philo. I'm glad you are here. So
I
loyal. Yeah, very good. Yeah, friends. As I said, artist. He has a own channel, not a VC channel, but he plays music, and he already sent me a couple of yeah, music he makes, he produces, even on vinyl. So
yeah.
it's always a
Excellent.
pleasure to have you here. So what's up, Mike?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's same old things really. I've been at Record Fair this morning. So being the second Saturday of the month, it's always Leeds Record Fair. And I always end up spending more money than I thought I would spend, or more money than I should spend, I should say.
What,
I
what
did.
was what was the trend this time? Because you can really you go every month, so you
I
know
do, yeah.
exactly. Sometimes it's less crowded. Sometimes they are more maybe booth tables. Sometimes choices may be more interesting, since they may probably had more time to go digging, the vendors. What was the trend this time?
Well, there are plenty of sellers there that I know now. So some of them are there every month. Some only come every other month or once every 3 months. And there's always there's always a good sort of variety of sellers. And the people that I quite like are the ones where somebody's going into the record fair to maybe sell just sell their sort of their own collection, really.
Yeah.
They're not professional dealers. And you can often pick up some pretty decent deals from those people.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. The one, now I'm not living in Montreal any longer. But there is a record show, record fair, as you guys say. Takes place twice a year, April and November, and it's exactly the same. You see people from Quebec, private collector, and they just bring their own stuff that you never see, nor on Discogs or in record stores. So that's a unique opportunity to get a hold of certain hidden treasure, fairly priced. Usually, it's not secondhand stuff. It's so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There seems to be a sort of trend nowadays that maybe 3 or 4 years ago you wouldn't get this, where there are certain sellers who seem to buy up excess stock, really.
Yeah.
So it's it's new vinyl, it's still in the shrink wrap, and maybe their releases from 1, 2, maybe 3 years ago. And they can be quite good because you can get some pretty good bargains from those people.
Yeah, yeah.
But the ones I prefer, though, are where people are selling really old stuff, and you never know what you're going to get. I mean, that's part of the fun. It's the main part of record fairs for me, is to just go there and you don't know what you might find.
Yeah, the same. I still like. I'm buying online as we all do, but yeah, going to the local store or especially a record show, it's something. Yeah, something a little bit different. I would prefer, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I try not to buy too much online, really, because I think it's too easy, isn't it, to sit there at home, in the comfort of your own home, in front of a screen and just buy stuff.
You're right, and I was reluctant to buy on Discogs many years, to be honest. And I remember, to me, what the Gene Clark album, actually both, the one he made with the Gosden Brothers and the with Doug Dillard, was on my list for forever, and I couldn't find any copy of those albums back in the days when I was still living in France. Upon arrival here in Canada, I thought maybe we'll have more chance. Couldn't find either, so I came to a point. I was like, okay, now I have to go on Discogs. And those were the very first purchases I made on Discogs. Yeah, those records. And I try to source it locally whenever possible, but sometimes you really want you don't find in your own spot. And in my situation, I literally changed continents. So okay, I don't find in French Germany, I don't find in Canada or in Vermont. And what can I do? Discogs, last chance.
That's true. And one thing that I kind of tell myself, and I want to believe this is true, but it probably isn't. That I think if I stay away from particularly buying secondhand vinyl online, then I'll keep my buying in check a little bit. But as soon as I go to a record fair, that's the lie is exposed, really, because I always find more than enough stuff to buy, and I quite like the thrill of the chase. The fact that something might just be there, something I've been looking for a long time, and probably most recently the record that I was really pleased to find, and this was in a record store in Wall of Sound in Leeds. A tiny little record shop was in the basement of another record shop, and it was a folk album, and it was Bright Phoebus.
Yeah,
and I'd been looking for that for a long time, and it was just before Christmas, and I just had to have it.
Yeah.
So I was actually stood in the shop while he played the whole album for me.
On top of
because
that,
he's very much the owner's very much into folk music himself.
Yeah,
he's a really big Richard Thompson fan, and he used to go to Cropperty every year to the festival, you know, the Fairport Convention Festival.
Yeah, you can imagine how great it must be, his private collection he keeps at home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bright Phoebus is particularly hard to get a hold of, since was never really reissued. I mean, officially.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So,
The people that, you know, the company that owns the rights just wouldn't allow and won't allow any reissues of that album.
yeah. I think when I was in Europe just for over Christmas, I had stumbled upon one of these unofficial release of this album, and yeah, didn't buy.
Yes, I remember that you WhatsApped a photo of it to myself and Fred, and I think we were both pleased that you didn't buy it.
Didn't buy because it was a little bit pricey.
Yeah, and it was
not official, and maybe because I talked to you, I talked to Fred, and I know that you guys had just bought a copy. I was maybe like, okay, it's not that impossible, maybe to find a real one. So, and
yeah,
maybe in that sense, you see how the thing, the way we think could evolve, or play. Because of the VC.
I'm pretty certain that the copy that you found in the record shop in Paris, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was quite sort of substandard, really.
Yeah.
You know, it was, as you say, it's unofficial. It was a bootleg, basically.
Yeah,
and
bootleg.
Not very good.
And probably if we were talking about something around 15 or 20 euros, I don't know. But
yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, was it?
No,
it was quite a bit more.
So I'm just replying to. You received my records? No, sorry, Philo. Sorry. I know we were exchanging through emails. No, I haven't. I really haven't. So I will check my
something on the way to you then, is there?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
I don't know what exactly, but
yeah.
And we don't get delivered on Saturday, and they reduced a little bit the service, Canada Post. So maybe next week I will.
Yeah. So I suppose this will be an opportunity to show everybody what I received in the post today, and I'll give you the story sort of behind it. So, what I received is this album, and it's an album by a band called the Sturmey Archers. As you can see, it's called We Failed. And what happened is that my latest video was about 3, 4, 5 days ago now, maybe, and a guy called Paddy left a comment on the video and said that he quite liked, the stuff that I showed on my channel, and he'd like to send me something. And he sent me this, and the guy Patrick, it's his band, and he was. He told me that he was. I think he's originally from Canvey Island, in the Thames Estuary, on the Essex side of the Thames Estuary, and he now lives down in Southampton, on the south coast of England. And so he's got this band called the Sturmey Archers, and they're how to describe them? I mean, they're sort of pub rocky, really, but at the more sort of punk end of pub rock. So, you know, if you don't know, there was a kind, you know, I'm probably sort of misrepresenting the whole thing, you know, but you know, with pub rock, it was a kind of music, sort of, you know, blues rock, very sort of DIY sort of blues rock stuff, and it originated, you know, around London and Essex way, and pub rock because it's bands that played in the pub, so very sort of small gigs, and these were the bands that were just ignored by the record industry, and you know, Stiff Records when they started, quite, you know, one of the things they wanted to do was to bring some of these pub rock bands that they were enjoying in London, you know, bring them to the attention of people, and even people like, you know, Elvis Costello was playing in the pubs, and he was just getting ignored. You know, these people were just being ignored. You know, Nick Lowe, people like that, you know, getting ignored by the record industry as a whole. And, you know, as I say, the music was sort of blues rock, but it was kind of like, it gravitated towards punk. So it's a kind of missing link really between the sort of more sort of bluesy rock that a lot of bands were playing, you know, in the 60s and 70s towards the sort of late 70s and punk. And I think this band, you know, the Sturmey Archers, they're sort of they're at the more sort of punky end, and they're quite quirky as well, and I like that. So, you know, we got tracks on here. The opening track is called Theme from Sturmey. Then you got Espresso Black. Then a track called His Famous Moustache, which there's a video of that on Patrick's YouTube channel, and then a track called Does Someone Need a Hug, which is an absolutely superb track. I've only listened to this album once so far, but I'll be listening to it again tomorrow and in subsequent days. It's a really nice album. It's right up my street, and as I say, Patrick thought, you know, it was something that I would like, and he was dead right about it. So yeah, Does Someone Need a Hug? I think it is a standout track here. And then the final track on side one is called Fat Paul Weller, and it's about somebody who's sort of you know, they're into middle aged, and they wish everything was as it was in 1979, and you know, yeah, completely sort of disenchanted with the modern world, I think, you know. And it, as I say, you know, it's quite witty. The lyrics are quite witty, and it's Paddy. His name's Paddy Connor. He's vocals and guitar, and he writes the music. And it's produced by M. Vaughan, who's Mike Vaughan, who's the drummer of the band, and the other two are a guy called Keith Pugh, who plays the bass and lead guitar, and then Lee Huxtable plays the keyboards. But as I say, it's very quirky. And yeah. What other tracks have we got on here? Oh yes, All She Likes to Do Is Crochet, Get a Purpose, and then this one is called I'm Going Back in Time to Punch My Stupid Face. And then there's Betsy, and then there's a title track called We Failed. But it's very quirky, you know. The lyrics are quite sort of witty, and it's a very sort of English record, I think. You know, I really love that sort of thing, and as you know, that I love the Lovely Eggs.
Yeah.
They're not like the Lovely Eggs. They don't sound like the Lovely Eggs, but I think there's the same sort of ethos there. You know, it's you know, that they do this for themselves, you know, and that's what they, you know, they enjoy doing it, and it's not particularly about sort of success, you know. It's about doing what makes you happy. So that was that arrived today.
Nice.
At lunchtime while I was still at the record fair,
Really nice. Really
And
nice.
I was really, really pleased to get that. And so, if you're watching Paddy, thanks very much, because it really is a great album. You should be proud of yourself
Yeah,
and the rest of the band.
it's the six. You're telling the story. I'm having with this guy basically because this is exactly what was happening. He was commenting on my video and say, hey, I play music. I have my record on vinyl. I can send a copy to you. So yeah, good things are happening on the VC, and it's nothing. It is truly something we don't calculate. We never expected for. I think
Yeah,
we recently I recently watched a French live stream on a French a live stream on the French VC, and they were discussing about how relevant are we. We don't get paid. We are not rock critic. We are not journalists, and it's nothing. It's we don't expect an artist watching our my humble channel, finding the content not bad, and saying, "Hey, I will just send you a copy. You seems to like music." It probably doesn't expect that I will talk about it. I will make it sell it, but only it's only because we share we have a common interest, probably.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's the way to approach sort of YouTube
Yeah,
and the vinyl community. Is just share your love of music. You know, tell the world what floats your boat. What is what's yeah. Thanks,
this
Paddy.
year.
That's Paddy's channel. I suck it love.
Okay.
Yeah,
So hi mate. If you can maybe just send a link if you have a Bandcamp or any useful link to the stuff. Feel free. Hey,
yeah,
Mr. CP.
yeah,
Hi CP. So
yeah, yeah. So I think vinyl community should be about kind of sharing your love of music. Telling the world what you're really into, and
you think?
watching other people's channel, and
Yeah.
really sort of if you're lucky, you can link up with people who share your interests. People are on the same wavelength as yourself, and that's what I really love. And there are quite a few people now that I really I really enjoy having conversations with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a little bit of an issue, yeah. And I've been there. I've been totally there. Already moved my collection yeah,
yes,
three
yes.
times. Three times. So I know.
Yeah, and every time, there's always going to be a little bit of damage, isn't there? And hi, Stunty,
Yeah, this
and,
time
and I'll,
the record itself were okay, material as well, but the furniture suffered a little bit during. Yeah, it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So that's the yeah,
Surprise of the week.
yeah, yeah. I was so chuffed to 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 get contact from you, Paddy, and I just as I say, I've only had the chance to play the record once, but yeah, it's going to be on my turntable quite a lot. It's definitely right up my street.
I'm just taking the opportunity to have Mr. Paddy online to ask maybe to address him the question. Um, he's a record collector himself. So I'm asking Paddy, are you collecting or are you listening to vinyl yourself? Or if not, why? How do you discover the vinyl community channel? Because let's be honest, we are very small on the YouTube world. Even the biggest channel, we won't tell his name, but it's nothing to compare to some of the when it comes about politics or drama or maybe other stuff. Those are giant channels around on YouTube. So I'm always wondering why some artists they they stumble upon the content we produce as a little guy in on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think Paddy, what Ramood's tried to say is, why on earth do you listen to an old fool like me?
That's the same. A guy, he runs his own label, and the same, he had watched our streams, he had sent me records, and I was like, okay, why do you watch my content? We are we don't produce nothing. I'm not a rock critic myself. We only share our joy, the basic knowledge we could gather, and that's pretty much it. So
Yeah,
but it's nice. It's nice. We have to maybe to remain to stay. My opinion. Maybe I think we have to stay a little bit humble about the way we do things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, this is just me, I think, but I'm quite averse to telling the world that this is the best record, or I can rank these albums of a particular band from 1 to 10 or whatever, because I think it's all down to personal taste. Like, I can tell you what I really like, and I can tell you what I don't like so much, but to actually say this is a definitive ranking, a definitive review of a record or a band or whatever, I think it's quite a futile exercise, really.
Yeah, I think you probably you probably right. And those are the channel I really enjoy when it's truly the something the person is venturing at the moment, and the effect it will have on the person itself, rather than only randomly talking about certain artists. Definitely, yeah.
Mm.
What a study says is it's interesting, but once again, what is our impact? I mean, I have a small YouTube channel, and I do talk about several records. Some of the people, they already know about those one. If by chance, out of the 400 people who watch the latest video, maybe one will have the curiosity to crash test online, it will already be wow. I'm not sure if I ever was responsible for a person to buy a record, and I'm not sure, might have happened. I don't know, but even the biggest channel, I'm not sure if we, yeah, the impact it can have. Maybe you, Stunty, when you play some really great nice stuff on Friday evenings, and so some people, they will jump on the link on Discogs. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, it's hard to gauge. I mean, it's hard to gauge.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think in our own little world, we influence each other, don't we?
Mm.
And particularly, I mean, you and I do. That I might mention something, or you might mention something, and I say, well, why, what about this? Try this, and that's that's really nice. This kind of very sort of personal sort of network that we have.
Network is the right word, but it's a drop on the ocean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If I had if in last June I talk about the Maloya comp on Strut Records, and you by chance 6 months after you stumble a copy of exactly the same
Yeah.
comp at Leeds, you will buy it. That's a drop. So the people behind the label, they won't see any curve, peak, or whatever effect, because a French dude with a strong accent who lives in Toronto now, and you, Mike, just discuss about that. So
yeah, absolutely.
The influence, yeah. But I see where Stunty is coming. Yeah, sharing good info. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's about sharing good info. It's about it's about telling the world, this is what I love, and this is why I love it. explain to the world why you think this is really nice. Why is this record in my collection? And that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're too modest, Christopher.
I'm not sure.
But
I'm not sure about that, Christopher. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think people maybe are reluctant to start their own channel because they will think it's not my world. Yeah, just take an example, and I'm staying really humble about the stuff that I'm about to say. But you told me once, Mike, and the reason you never talk about English folk music, or rarely, because you thought maybe it will be of no one interest. And I started to talk a little bit about,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it triggers maybe a kind of envy. So
yeah, yeah. That's right. I mean, that taught me a lesson, really. That I think you need to be true to yourself.
yeah,
You know, do do what makes you happy, and hopefully other people uh, will come in on that.
yeah.
Will join you on it.
I know what you are talking about. I have sent some VCLTs once to a guy. I won't tell his name. And he didn't talk about those records on his channel, not because he didn't like, not because he didn't enjoy it, or not because he is not a friend, just because he thought it will not be in line with his channel's policy, whatever.
Mm,
I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I do. I do.
And I was a little bit disappointed because the joy to give records is the same as to receive. And I didn't want to have, hey, got this record from French vinyl. It's not about that. It's clearly not about that. It was clear about, hey, I listened to those records. What I would have loved had he made this video, what it was, hey, I discovered this record. This is my perception. Would have been interesting to know what a guy like this thinks about music. It's not maybe in his comfort zone. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. But for me, still at at the age that I am, which is not young, I'm still, I'm still looking for something that's new and different. I like, you know, and quite often I like to be challenged by the music that I listen to.
it's not about the age, it's about the mindset, because I won't tell you your age, Mike, but
Yeah.
it's between 7 and 77, as we say in French. And and you were at the kneecap concert. You were at the kneecap concert, and I know some VCR. They are probably 5 years younger than you, and they still go to the tribute concert by Genesis or whatever. So it's not about the age. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not,
Yeah.
it's
Yes, I
about
really enjoyed that
kneecap,
kneecap
kneecap. Yeah,
gig, and then I went back to the same place, the O2 in Leeds, and we saw Sleaford Mods,
yeah.
who are in a sort of similar vein, really.
Band I
Yeah,
still have to dive into. I only have heard one over their album so far,
yeah,
and promotion is expensive. Yeah, that's another aspect. You cannot if you cannot afford promotion, you're not known. Therefore, you're right.
yeah, yeah,
But
absolutely.
now it's all about networking, connections, probably doing the stuff yourself, probably, because and this is probably be what lots of artists are asked from the label to be a sales representative and marketing themselves, to have like a network, social post every day, be active more than being artist, which is funny.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is possible to, promote yourself successfully, without having a massive sort of record company behind you, without having the resources of a sort of PR department. And the band that I talk about the most is the Lovely Eggs, and I'm absolutely besotted with them. I've loved them for years now, and they don't have a manager. They have their own record label, and if you go online and buy a record from them, they will be the people that package the record and take it to the post office for you.
Yeah.
In fact, they did a little video a while ago for their, I think, at the album before last, where it was a video of them with a trolley that they were pulling along the streets in Lancaster, I think, and it was piled up with all the records that they were going to send off, and they went into the post office and posted them off. So they, they really are a DIY band.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's possible to do that, and they built up a sort of a fairly sizable, I mean, at least in the UK, a fairly sizable, loyal following. That includes myself. And so it's possible to do that.
Yeah, and I think even the old traditional way of discovering music is not dead any longer. I recently watched a video by a guy called I think Mike Walsh. He was talking about how rock is dead. He was taking the example that the Beatles, when they played in Ed Sullivan, 40% of the American they were watching at the same time, which is truly impossible, because what he said, right now we have dozens of screens, we watch dozens of stuff sometimes at the same time. So it's really hard to duplicate. But at the same time, we still have festivals over here, especially in summer in Montreal, or where down, not living anymore in Montreal, but in Toronto as well. So it still gives an opportunity for new bands to have this exposure, because festivals in the summer are really popular. We have free festivals. Some festival they charge you a little small amount. And radio station, I discovered local radio stations. I'm not talking about the commercial radio station, but community based, university. And I get the feeling, there are still ways to talk about, to promote, to do the job when you had recorded, to, how we say in French, to take your pilgrimage stick and to and to knock every TV's radio station door to promote.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. I mean, a band, a band that's a sort of, an example of a sort of small band that have been sort of doing their own thing for years and years, and suddenly they get the attention of the world, and that's the the Canadian duo, the microtonal band, Engine de Poitrine.
Oh yeah.
And they appeared. They were at a festival in France, and the radio station, and YouTube channel KEXP Seattle, broadcast that. So it was about sort of 20 minutes. I think it was 4 or 5 tunes they played.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everybody was talking about them. And I think they're absolutely marvelous. And the thing that galls me about it, though, is that they played at the Brudenell Social Club, but by the time I'd heard of them, it was sold out. And so there you go. So I didn't get to go and see them. But their record, was released. I think they got 2 albums. And at least the first one was, a very small release. I think it was self-released.
Yeah.
But now, their albums, their 2 albums, are getting a sort of worldwide release next month, I think.
And, they are
pre-order.
They are pressed in a small plant close to Montreal, which I did visit last year with Sebastien, a guy who has a channel. We had made a documentary. It's a small pressing plant, but this success of Angine de Poitrine is good. I'm not really mad. It's not the type of music I was into, but it shows one thing. It shows that we were maybe the first to discuss about that. Something around February or January.
That's right. Fred mentioned them, and
Fred
that was
mentioned
when
yeah,
when I discovered them. Yeah,
yeah, and so we are extremely curious. I think maybe not the only one, but the point I'm trying to make is in the vinyl community we often discuss about avant-garde stuff,
yeah,
or music that will never be huge or before it will outburst. And that was exactly the case in February, January. We were already discussing. I think, not sure if Jose or Jason talk about that, but I have witnessed some discussion within the VC, And at that time, no one had interest. No one. And after 4 months, the media, the mainstream media, they talk about that finally because it was so big, the KXP, when they whatever. But they didn't even talk about the music.
no,
So that was a time when finally now you will ask everyone at the bakery or the coffee shop, do you know Angine de Poitrine? That they will know Angine de Poitrine, but not because of the music, because of the effect, because of the buzz it had. So that's a little bit of a pity, and that's a discussion I often have with Stunty or Fred or other people. Say sometimes we are really thrilled to discover something nice, something obscure, and we want to share the information, and the people, they just don't care.
yeah,
But if 2 months after the same music will be used for a commercial or will be used on another, oh yeah, you see that, of course I saw that, I talked to you 2 months earlier, but you couldn't care less about that. So
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
little bit, yeah.
yeah. Yes, I mean, I don't know. Do people, with Angine de Poitrine, do people, do people like the spectacle, or do they like the music, or is it a bit of both? I think they're absolutely fantastic, and just the guitar playing, there's sort of, there's a, for people who don't know, and I'm sure you all do know now, but the guitarist plays a sort of, it's a double neck guitar. It's a guitar and a bass, and the guitar is microtonal, so it has extra frets. So effectively you play the notes between the notes, and this is something that used to get in medieval music, and also sort of in Middle Eastern music.
Yeah,
This sort of these sort of microtonal sound.
microtonality, yeah, yeah.
And I just think they're absolutely wonderful. But certainly the look of them is the thing that has really captured the imagination of most people.
That's the whole package that
Yeah,
prays for themselves. It's not only about the music, because when you start to I was invited to some people, they only listen to the commercial radio station, and they say, oh, you see that Angine de Poitrine? I say, yes, you sure, of course, we've been discussing about it in our VC for months. And then I was trying to tell about the influence they had, and they had and those people in particular, they had no idea who Robert Fripp was, or even Frank Zappa was a little bit. So it's, yeah.
So that's it. So maybe we do have an influence, but I think we do influence each other.
Yeah.
But I'm also aware that a lot of people might say, when they watch my channel, oh, that looks really interesting, Mike, and I know that they're not going to go out of their way to listen to the music. Maybe some people do, but I think the majority of people probably just being a bit polite,
Do
really.
are we willing to address this tackle right now or no?
I don't know. I don't know.
We
I just saw the
well, okay. Let's talk about that for a sec.
Hmm.
Plenty of channels talk about the same music or are in their certain comfort zone, but still they will like watching other people's channel, commenting, having this sort of community things, and it's really good. Don't get me wrong; it's far better than making love is better than making war. That's yes, sounds a little bit silly, but it's that's the truth. Nevertheless, I like to get people involved because I will have this how do you say that in English? The maybe 1% of chance. I will hope maybe 1%. That's because I'm getting excited. That my motivation will trigger the envy of the people. He will try.
Yeah,
Maybe that's naive from my end. That's totally naive. I recently discovered new stuff, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I have a
mm,
channel, so I'm expecting that people maybe will share my joy.
yeah. I think probably you have to accept that your enthusiasm for a particular record, a particular band, is not going to be shared by the majority of people.
Majority of people. That's
You
right.
know,
Uh,
but
Yeah,
if it just influences one person, one person says,
yeah,
"I bought this record because you showed it on your channel," and I feel quite gratified by that. I think
yeah.
that's really nice.
The same. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Live stream about comedy on vinyl. Yeah. Um, yeah, yes. I remember Record Town that you appeared on Ian's live stream, didn't you? It must be a year or so ago now, and you've got a big collection of particularly British comedy records. All the British comedy classics there on vinyl. You know,
It was the
it's not really a genre that I would collect. I mean, I love the sort of classic sort of British comedy, the sitcoms and everything from years back. But I don't really, I don't go out of my way to collect this stuff on vinyl. But yeah,
my uncle used to have dozens of those in French, where French comedy stuff,
mm,
humorist, comedian, and many stuff from the 80s.
yeah,
But it's yeah,
yeah,
just catching up with the comment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's right. The records were, you just couldn't get hold of them. But there's definitely a more substantial release coming up in June, and I've got them both on pre-order. So
Oh,
maybe you'll be able to get
okay.
hold of your Undream to Portrain, then. I think they're an acquired taste, aren't they? I mean they're very much out there, and they're doing their own thing, and I like, one of the things I like about them is that they're doing what they want to do. They've created the sound for themselves, and I must say I really love it. And the only other band I can think of that you know get into the microtonal world. Of course, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
And that's another aspect we will talk about microtonality, which is still in the Middle East or Indian music today's. That's still a part of the fun. We have to wait that some, yeah, sorry for lack of word, but some white people in the Western country, they use this music, and now the world discovered, oh yeah, that's nice. But at the same time, we have access to this music. If we are a vinyl collector, or if you love music, listening to music in that format, why do we not go to the source directly?
Yeah,
Directly.
yeah,
If
yeah,
if I love flamenco, I will not say, yeah, I love flamenco. I bought this innuendo from Queen because this 40 seconds solo. Yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah. But
yeah,
how about how about Spanish? You know what I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah. I think on the one hand, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being influenced by the music of other cultures, and I think it's a very healthy thing. But I agree with you that if if you're just listening to a band playing, like you say, playing flamenco, and they're not a flamenco band, then hi Morton, then you know you, you've got to accept, I think, that you're possibly missing out. And you and I had a conversation about rye a while ago. The North African music,
Mm.
and back in the sort of the late '80s, early '90s, um, there was a lot of rye music. A lot of it was coming out of Paris, but it became sort of quite influential, in the what was termed the world music scene, in Europe and particularly the UK at that time. And I think you pointed out to me that that the music I was listening to was very much adapted and attuned to Western ears, and it wasn't it wasn't quite. I hate using the word authentic, but it
Yeah,
wasn't the music from from those sort of roots. It was adapted. It was
more than that. One of the iconic artists, Khaled, he had a massive success in '96 with a song which was composed by Jean-Jacques Goldman, who is a French middle down the middle of the road art type of artist,
right.
and singing French with a chorus in Arabic. So plus, in the late '80s was very much a cassette thing culture, and well, yes, some rap music we could hear 5 or 7 years later in the mid '90s on the mainstream radio station.
Yeah,
Yeah, was not the same, had not the same flair. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely
yeah, yeah,
targeted to a more wide audience. Yeah, and it's nothing bad with that, but
yeah,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, and this is this is the thing that is really really good about the you know the internet age. We're online, and we can get hold of just about anything we want to, and we can be we can be influenced by all sorts of musical styles. But back in back in the day, and again, when North African music was coming across to the UK.
Yeah, and
There wasn't really a way of uh, how should I say, not really a way of sort of discovering you know the music around the music that you were being served up with.
yeah, and
But now you can.
it was as I said, a very cassette stuff. A good friend of mine went to Tunisia and brought me cassettes,
Yeah,
and on vinyl was not. It's not. Yeah, it's not hard to find, but it's less, a little bit less common. But nevertheless, I could find recently those, and that's still the era I really like. That's 1988,
yeah,
produced in France. So yeah, Sheb Khaled,
yeah, yeah,
and those kind of stuff. That's '88, a little bit later, and Yeah. So and I'm not an expert in that. Those are the only stuff rye I could find on vinyl. There are certainly plenty of
Yeah.
other stuff, but yeah.
But there, I mean, Cheb Mummy and Cheb Khalid are the two, probably the two biggest names in the 80s, the 80s, mid 90s, in that we had access to in the UK.
Yeah.
They were the stars, and it was very difficult to really get to listen to anything else.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I tried to maybe Rashita. Well, it was not rye. He was not rye, I know, but was sort of rock with oriental syncopation, maybe.
Yeah.
Just trying to catching up with comments.
Right.
People talking to each other, which is good. Yeah. Thanks for the education, Stunty. Yeah, you're right, Didi. Didi was 94, I think, or 95. I'm not even sure.
Yeah. 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 It'd be the mid 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Because I think this kind of explosion of sort of music from outside of the UK and the USA and even outside of Europe kind of started probably in the sort of late 80s, and it was mainly African music. There was an awful lot of African music, and some great stuff, and the kora players from sort of Mali and South African music, Zimbabwe music. Yeah.
Yeah, the one you sent me, the Bundu Boys.
Oh yes, I did, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
This really high, not high energy, but with this jangly guitar. Yeah, really enjoy. Is that an easy record to get a hold of in the UK?
It is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, really.
Yeah. I mean the thing about that sort of music is that it tends to be quite cheap. That you can pick up these albums quite at very reasonable prices.
Yeah, because
whereas,
no one has interest.
because no one's interested.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned, because I mean, at the record fair today, always see sort of records that are just
I was
massively priced, and all the different renditions of the Beatles albums, and some are allegedly very valuable, and you're talking about £150
yeah,
for an album.
And there was this live stream earlier this week on the American VC. I think it was on Canterbury Chain's channel. It was the middle class collector disappeared, since now we see audiophile people are ready to spend a huge amount of money, and aficionados of $5 bin. What about the middle class? And I was saying something like, hey, if we go a little bit outside of the classic rock territory, you can still find lots of great stuff, not having to pay dozens and dozens of hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I would recommend. It's interesting. Sorry, we did just looking at the comment from Stunty. Yeah, it's interesting how all these things are linked. So many names sort of crop up all over the place. Where you wouldn't really expect them to be. There's a real sort of network, and I mean, some of the sort of folk stuff that I listen to, there are names that come up again and again. People have over the years have collaborated with each other. And it's part of a network. Yeah, interesting. But yeah. What before I sidetrack myself? Yeah, what I was going to say is that what I would sort of like recommend sort of people do is if you go to a record fair or a secondhand record shop, have a look at some of the cheap stuff and just pull out something that you think looks quite interesting, something you don't know. And if you get it home and you can't stand it, then what have you
Okay,
what have you wasted? Maybe £5, £10,
let's start a challenge. Let's ask the people who are watching this live stream, or maybe later, next time you go to a record show or record fair, just grab a $5 or a £5 record, listen to, and just give you impression. And if you don't like, maybe think of a VC channel we will love and just tag this channel, saying, okay, that's nothing to me because not my stuff, but I give it a try. And I think that might be of someone's interest, named Mike or Stunty or Morton, whatever.
Yeah.
That should be an idea. Yeah. Because we all know a little bit about everyone's taste. We all know this is the power pop guy, this is the prog guy, this is the weird music guy, flushing toilet water, Stunty. Hi, Stunty. No, I'm just joking, but we know, and it costs nothing. It costs okay, $5. We all have more than $5 in the pocket when we go to record shows. So
yeah,
and that's a shred. That's a real shred, not a shred like show records with a cat and a red hat on the cover. Sorry about that. But yeah.
Yes, I know. When Fred starts showing stuff, I know it's going to be quite expensive for me. If I don't use a bit of self-control.
Yeah, the same.
Yeah.
This guy, not this guy. Where are you? This guy, CP, just shared with me a very interesting channel. It's not a VC channel, and they do a ranking, but it's interesting. They always go to they always tackle a specific genre, subgenre, and they take 50 records, and you have maybe 30 or 40 seconds. You have the music, you only have the cover, and it gives a very good idea about, like, for instance, 50 essential Baroque pop or dark wave or minimal wave. And I really like is that they don't focus on the UK, US, Anglo-Saxon world. They go a little bit like Bosnian stuff, and so
yeah. I mean that's right. I mean it's really, I think it can really pay off, to just dip your toe into something that you're really not familiar with.
These days when I have ears to listen to Beatles, I put Ramsey. I don't know who Ramsey Lewis is.
No, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Could you be more specific? Maybe.
I'm going to have to listen to that when we finish now.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I know Stunty's favorite cover, Beatles song I covered is Dear Prudence by Six in the Banshee. Or Seals in the Banshee, yeah.
Yeah.
I will not sound very like original, but Will a Little Help from My Friend by Joe Cocker is
yeah.
exceed a little bit the original.
Yeah. I mean, I have absolutely nothing against the Beatles at all. And when I was very young, I absolutely loved the Beatles. But
I still do.
I think it's just that, they finished, 56 years ago?
Yeah.
And I think it's probably time to move on. You know, there's as I say, you know, the music is fine, but the idea that you know, they have to be kept at the forefront of every music lover's mind, you know, for eternity, it kind of puts me off a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Beatles covers, you know, that's a different thing altogether. You know, people being creative with the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's not here. You don't have to. You don't have to.
Yeah,
mention
this was a £10 record. It wasn't a blind buy because I know this band. It's the Bishops, and this album's called Crosscuts. I think it's about their fourth album, and they're a pub rock band. They were originally called the Count Bishops, but they shortened their name. But there's some great covers on here. And in particular, there's a pub rock version of Fleetwood Mac's "Somebody's Going to Get Their Head Kicked In Tonight," which is, I mean, which is better than the original. I think there's a version of "I Want Candy" on here as well. But you know, they're one of the bands, one of the sort of pub rock bands that I always liked, you know, and yeah, that's, I mean, it was £10 because pub rock isn't very fashionable.
Pub rock, I have no idea. I have a little bit of an idea what pub rock is. When I think of pub rock, I think of Dr. Feelgood, and that's pretty much the only thing
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Feelgood, you know, and of course, you know, you've got Wilco Johnson in there.
Yeah. Which I already know by name.
Yeah.
But you were mentioning Steve Records. Ian Dury was on Steve label.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. But that's not pub rock at all. Pub rock at all.
No. Well, you see, so what happened is that, you know, Stiff Records started in about 1975. They were getting it together, and as I said earlier, it was all down to, you know, the fact that, you know, the founders of the label were music fans. They were in London. They would be listening to listening to bands in the local pubs who were really good, and they knew that these bands were just being ignored. So they thought, well, why don't we do something about it? So yeah, you know, the label itself sort of did start very much as a sort of you know, promoting some of the sort of pub rock. I'll show you. I bought a single because I'm a bit mad about collecting Stiff Records, but you know, there are people. There you go. Lou Lewis. He's one of the pub rockers on Stiff Records. Lou Lewis Reformer, the band, and you know, this was, you know, not quite proto punk. I wouldn't say that, because it's, you know, it's a genre of its own. But I think the attitude was there. You know, that was you know, always have to show the label, you say, when it's Stiff Records. There you go. So you know, that they were, you know, these bands like, you know, Lou Lewis, but talking about Ian Dury. I mean, Ian Dury, he was in a band, Kilburn and the High Roads, and you know, they were very much a sort of pub rock sort of band, you know, but very much, you know, it's very much sort of Ian Dury, you know, was in the forefront of that band, and you know, a lot of the a lot of the lyrical sort of content of Kilburn and the High Roads is is typical sort of Ian Dury. I think probably the most famous song of theirs was the Bus Driver's Prayer. So it's really a rendition of the Lord's Prayer, but it's all places in London, places that a bus driver might visit, during his working day. And it starts off, Our Father who art in Hendon, Harrow Road be thy name, and it goes on from there.
Okay,
And it's just all places in London, and and Kilburn and the High Roads influenced Reckless Eric to become a musician.
okay.
And of course, Eric was one of the early signings for Stiff Records, but he never really had the success that I think he probably deserved. Although when I saw him on the he was on both the first and the second of the Stiff Record tours of the UK, and particularly on the first one, I've got to say that I think he'd had quite a lot to drink beforehand, and he seemed to be more interested in banter with the crowd than actually playing his music. But yes, Ian Dury records are usually well priced. You're right. Particularly in the UK, you can pick up records at very reasonable prices.
Yeah, over here as well. Yeah.
And well worth it as well. The first two albums, New Boots and Panties is an absolute classic album, and then there's Do It Yourself, the one with the wallpaper patterns on.
And
the one that some people want to collect all the different versions of. I think, Nick Vinyl Butty is a collector of Do It Yourself, and I think there's 20 or 30 different covers of that album.
Yeah, I will invite people to join. What do you think?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Why not? Yeah, we have 18 people. It looks like they are pretty much active. So sorry if I missed some of your comments, guy. Feel free to click on the link to add another coin in the jukebox, as we say.
Yep.
And earlier this morning, on my way to a Swedish furniture shop, I made a stop at this place called PCV Records. That's not in Toronto downtown. That's a little bit on the shore, and about something I had yet to find in my collection, and that's the one. Eurythmics.
All right, I don't have that album.
Yeah, I never saw that album, and I paid $25 Canadian, so 12 quid something.
Yeah,
it's a UK press, one of the original album, and I was shocked because it's not the synth wavy synthesizer kind of sound. When you see the credit, it's only for the credit I would have bought this record. It has been recorded at Conny Plank studio in Germany, and Holger Schukai, Jack Liebitsai played on this album. It's and they sing in French on one of the songs, I think, and a very good surprise. We had talked about this record, had on the list, and Eurythmics. Who would have thought?
Yeah, it's not a record I own at all.
Me neither. We see the other albums everywhere, 83 with Sweet Dreams, and but this one I never saw this one.
Yeah, Sweet Dreams is the only album I have by them, I think. Yes, it is.
Yeah, Conny Plank. It's a
guru,
a German guru.
Yeah.
who sadly passed away a couple of years after, I think 89.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it their very first? I'm just asking in the crowd in the Peanut Gallery. Is this they're really their first album, Eurythmics? I'm not even sure, because probably they must have came up with a bunch of EP or singles before that. So
Yeah.
recording in 81, it says recording in June 81. So yeah.
Well, I mean, Annie Lennox was with the Tourists, wasn't she, to start with?
Yeah.
Very much a sort of like a bit power pop, really. Not really my thing, but yeah. You're saying about sort of records that have got you kind of read the credits and you think I've got to have this. Well, this album I bought today, and again it was extremely cheap. Smiling Men with Bad Reputations by Mike Herron, and of course Mike Herron is one half of the Incredible String Band. And this is an album from, I think, 1971. But just looking at the credits here, you've got on track one, you've got Dudu Pekwana, who's South African township jazz saxophonist. But then you've got Simon Nicol, Dave Pegg is on here, Richard Thompson is on here.
Oh.
Rose Simpson, Dave Mattox plays drums on some of this, and Terry Cox is on here, Jerry Conway, Pat Donaldson, John Cale is on here. Then there's one track here has got backing vocals by Dr. Strangely Strange, and the album is produced by the great Joe Boyd. The American guy who had so much influence on the the folk rock scene in the UK.
Well, yeah, he managed the UFO Club. He was one before behind the Fairport Conventions record deal. Incredible string band as well. He's the one who said
exactly,
to Electra, you got to sign these guys. Absolutely.
There you go. It's on the
Island label,
classic Island Records label, not the this is the label after the Pink label, isn't it? Yeah.
And the Pink Ring, does the Pink Ring come after, just for the record?
Yeah, this is the I'm pretty certain. Just sort of thinking about it, because records like Fotheringay is on the it's on the solid Pink label, isn't it?
I don't have a copy.
This is 1971. Yeah, so I think this Pink Rim label was probably straight after the other one, but I'm no expert on the genesis of record labels. So but again, I saw this and I thought, that looks really great, right? Must have it, because I love the Incredible String Band.
I know, yeah. Those are not easy to get a hold of over here.
Right.
No, you never see.
Do you know the person who was selling, I got the Mike Herron from, he had copies of just about all of the Incredible String Band albums.
Really?
Yeah, he told me he bought a collection recently, and the person he bought it from was an Incredible String Band enthusiast. So we had everything.
Yeah, all my copies I had bought it online and come from the UK actually.
Yeah.
Flashback Records, London, amongst other source.
Yeah. I mean, the Incredible String Band albums, what they're on Elektra, aren't they?
Elektra, yeah.
So so he had, he had quite a few, including the Hangman's Beautiful Daughter, but not not an original, but then that doesn't matter if it plays well.
Can we talk about Incredible String Band for a sec?
Yeah, yeah. So one of my, one of my favourite bands, that they bridge psychedelia and folk, and I really like that sort of stuff, and bands like Trees as well, On the Shore is a fantastic album, by the way. But that sort of that psychedelic sound, mixed with English folk rock, and with the Incredible String Band, you get sort of a lot of Middle Eastern influences as well, don't you? Oh, there you go.
They were from Scotland, and one of the guy, never know which of the two, was roommates with Bergench.
I think I probably get this wrong, but yeah, I think Robin Williamson's on the left, and Mike Carroll is on the right. And someone will say, "No, you've got that completely wrong, Mike," because I'm useless at.
Yeah, it's I'm only repeating what I read in this book. We keep on mentioning.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's it. The classic label. But all those people on the back cover. That the band was staying at a hotel, and so as well as people like what's her name, Licorice, isn't it? She's on there, but a lot of the people were just people that were staying at the hotel, and they got them to dress up and do the photograph. That should have been the front cover, though, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree, and that's.
Oh! Is that the double?
No, I know.
Yeah,
it's only the big huge. Yeah,
big huge. Yeah.
And when you listen to sort of folk from France from the 70s, this revival of regional like Brittany, Alsace, they were a massive source of inspiration, I think. Yeah, it's funny because I do have such stuff from Alsace or from Brittany, and some of the songs it's literally Alsatian music, traditional folkloric stuff, and other more like beatnik kind of acoustic guitar. You really have the taste of what these guys brought to the table. Incredible String Band, and they are never pricey. Where I have hard time getting hold a copy over here in North America, so I have to buy online. But yeah, it drives me a little bit mad to pay for the customs and shipment. But the records itself, it's always a good deal. I'm sure Mike will confirm that the record you saw at the fair, they were not expensive.
Well,
were they?
Original pressings of the early Incredible String Band albums are quite expensive. Okay. But you can pick up, if you're not interested, if you're not sort of completely sold on buying originals, you can pick up their albums quite, but the 5,000 Spirits of the Layers of the Onion.
Onions, yeah.
This is a folk site classic. Yeah. So yeah, and again, it's on the on the Electra label. Yeah, this one, this pressing, it doesn't give the full title on the label. It's just the 5,000 Spirits, as you can say. But yeah, I love this album. In fact, I love most of the Incredible String Band album.
I still have to find a copy. Yeah, but
yeah. Well, if I find a decent copy, I'll
I didn't tell that for that purpose, but
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And even in France, where when I was in Paris for just over Christmas, didn't see any of those kind of. The only stuff I found was the John Martin, Bless the Weather.
Yeah, yeah. But this is yeah. This is a double.
That's the double, the big huge with what
Yeah,
what's
the wee tom and the
wee time, yeah.
huge. So you've got the picture of the pair of them. It's in the middle of the gatefold, and I've even still got the inner there. So yeah, so that's the head. One of the tracks composed by Robin Williamson. So yeah, well worth seeking out. Incredible string band albums.
Okay, perfect transition. Since the next one up is also a kind of folk psych, and something I'm really obsessed with since the last 2 months. Yeah, I'm really obsessed about this record. Roy Harper, the guy who sings "Have a Cigar" on Pink Floyd, and hats off to Roy Harper on Led Zeppelin 3. So the people know or heard his voice or the name, but that's probably everything. And yeah, it's a beautiful album. I mean, it's not perfect, but this is what I like about this one, because it goes a little bit in every direction. It's like just taking the voice of David Bowie back then, mixed with Donovan stuff, a rhythm section, jazz influenced, and the incredible string band a little bit, and you got a little bit of taste of this one. It's a super. Stormcock is often considered as his best one, but this is a full jockey opus, a '69 record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one on Harvest or is it on Liberty?
That's on Liberty.
Yeah.
That's on Liberty, yeah. He later got his
oh yeah.
This UK press. He later had he jumped, or he got later a record deal on Harvest when he was actually recording HQ or EQ. That's the album he made. Right, yeah. Next door, Pink Floyd were recording "Wish You Were Here," but yeah, it's all still on Liberty. What's your take on Roy Harper, Mike?
I think he's great. He's somebody that I didn't really go out of my way to sort of buy all of his stuff, but I always liked him. And he was one of these artists that would support, he'd be supporting other people at gigs, particularly at sort of festivals and whatever. Roy Harper would invariably be there. I mean, maybe it's just my memory sort of not being what it was, but I just get the impression that Roy Harper was on an awful lot of bills, during the 70s. But I mean, the album that people say is his classic is of course Stormcock.
Stormcock, yeah, 71,
and I think it's a great album. And I did buy. I bought a live album by him last month, and I just grab it in a sec. But yes, I think he's one of the one of the people, and like you say, everybody knows his name, but I don't think a lot of people actually really know his music.
Yeah. I made this had this experience when I was sharing with friends on WhatsApp, and one of my friends says "Wish You Were Here." That's his absolute favorite album of all time, and I say this guy actually sings a song on one of your favorite album, and but this is what happens lots of time. People don't go too far from
Yeah.
That's
if you want to, if you want to know about Roy Harper, The YouTube channel to go to is Rob Ison's. Rob is a very big Roy Harper fan.
Okay.
Yeah, he likes all that kind of that sort of late 60s, early 70s sort of folk stuff, and he does show quite a lot of Roy Harper, I think, from time to time.
And he get mentioned is in this documentary. I keep on mentioning ever once again, the full Britannia, which was broadcasted on BBC, but it's available on YouTube. There is an interview. He was talking about his career, his path. He was busking. We say busking in France and North Africa. I think from the even in the early 60s. So his career spanned over 6 decades.
Mm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's been around for a very long time. But again, you mentioned North Africa, and I think so many artists around that time, when they were young, in the 1960s, that they went traveling, in North Africa and the Middle East, and took a lot of influences from their experiences, from their travels.
Starting with David Graham to Morocco.
Yeah.
Would tune his guitar in the way to better play with local musician.
Yes.
That's where the DAD comes from, which was also later how would you say, not stolen by Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
Burgenge obviously as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it's.
Quick question for you, Mike.
I do. I do enjoy Soft Machine, and Soft Machine 7. I don't think it's their best album, quite honestly, but I like that. I like that sound, and since from when I was quite young, I was really quite into that sort of the Canterbury sound. From where sort of Soft Machine emanated, but by Soft Machine 7, they kind of moved a little bit away from that Canterbury sound, haven't they, Zeb? But yes, it's a fine album.
Never heard this one. Never heard.
Yeah.
I think I went not far to up until Soft Machine 4. I think the 4th album, I guess.
Yeah. Certainly.
Well, after Soft Machine Firth, you have to go to Matching Mole and the first Robert Wyatt.
Yeah.
You have to. You do what you want, but this is what I did.
But yes.
This is what I did.
I mean, Robert Wyatt is one of those another one of those artists that I think doesn't quite get the recognition that he deserved.
They were not. They were not the. That's prog, and I had this discussion with last week with one of the guy I work with. Claims to be a progressive rock nerd, absolute crazy fan, knows all this classic bands from the 70s. Genesis, Gentle Giant, blah blah blah. And when I just touched base on the Canterbury scene, he couldn't say, "Whoa, what is that?" And I relate to progressive rock in a way, but they certainly didn't have the same aura, image. Their music is a huge source of influence, but
but the music that was coming out of Canterbury, in the early 70s was, it's really quite a sort of subgenre of prog, because it didn't really sound like the other stuff that we were listening to.
It's jazz with psych.
Yeah, that's right. It's got there's that jazz influence, whereas British classic sort of prog rock you know, certainly takes a lot of influences from classical music, doesn't it?
And folk.
And folk, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, the Canterbury thing, and you know, and I suppose the biggest band, it's got to be Caravan, hasn't it? And Caravan were a bit more sort of a bit more psyche, a bit more sort of whimsical, I think.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I love them for that. You know, one of my favourite bands. You know, the Land of Grey and Pink. Wow, excellent album. Yeah. So what do you think of Soft Machine 7, Zeb?
It's funny you say that,
Yeah.
since now I have too many prog albums, and my Canterbury prog records used to be with the prog genre. Now they are with the with the spec album. It's funny you say that. It's really funny.
Yeah.
This one, but
Yeah.
we are using like words that could afraid people. It's really like accessible, so easy to come by, and
Yeah.
that's, to me, that's the go-to if anyone
It is. Yeah.
were
Yeah.
be afraid of, oh, Canterbury jazz, not my type. Yeah, that's as I say, whimsical. Everything is well balanced. The singers is
Yeah.
well calibrated. Also, like as this little bit very English pastoral flair, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an original, isn't it?
No, that's
No?
later. That's a French pressing.
Oh, right. Right.
Very good condition, but 77
Oh, right. Okay.
motors. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's not an OG.
Completely. Yeah, because it's on DRAM.
On the RAM originally, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
No, I don't have an original, but I have a later copy. Yeah.
This one is an original, not in very good condition, but
Yeah.
The record back then were really like thick, so that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's all the music stupid, as say our.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, it's again, I think, the stuff we've been talking about today, there's always a link, isn't there, from one genre to another. I don't think there are many genres that are, completely self-contained. There's always influences. I mean, musicians obviously are always influenced by what came before, aren't they?
What they listen to, you cannot deny what came to your ears before the
exactly.
day you started doing music yourself. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just re-putting a link if anyone wants to come discussing with the two of us. Just click on the link, bring your records, and yeah. Hi, Greg.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg. Greg used to live in Toronto. I think do you still live in France?
Oh.
You went to France for a year or something. I'm not sure. So I'd be glad to. Yeah. That's what I miss. That's what I miss when I go on such a long break. Stunty sarcasm.
Yes.
It's really what I missed.
Yeah. There was one time I tried to embrace a love of Rush, but it just never really happened for me. Sorry, Canada.
You- that's one of the bands I cannot be. How can I say that? I discovered when I was very young, and it's part of the maybe the project I had to once to move to Canada, which I finally realized many years after. So I don't know.
Mm,
Had I discovered this band today, I would probably might be of a different opinion, but yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Those are the bands you cannot really be fair, or what is neutral.
No, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right that they, you know, you either love them or you think, what's this all about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I still listen to some of their 2112. That's still one of the
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
I don't have anything by them on vinyl, but I do own a few CDs, but I don't. I can't say I've listened to any of them anytime recently.
It is an interesting it is an interesting band. They started their career as a hard rock kind of stuff. People thought
Yeah,
it was Led Zeppelin. They had their first success because American radio based out in Cleveland. They played the stuff in '74, and like people are really ringing their, yo, what is that new song from Led Zeppelin? And it was a Rush, Working Man. And after that, they evolved to our more prog, symphonic prog. They were massively fan. Yes, Chris Squire way of playing bass guitar, and yeah, it's yes. I know what people think in the chat, so
yeah,
it will
yeah,
throw stones at me. So I have to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't even dare
I,
to
I,
go and to grab
those are,
my Rush
yeah,
record.
those are two albums I have on CD, and although I've just said, Rush are not for me. Um, I'm not totally opposed to them. You know, they're not.
But let's talk about something interesting. An interesting fact. They were still playing prog when prog was banned in the UK. They were recording, not banned, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it effectively.
They
Yeah,
were they were recording a symphonic prog album 50 miles away from London when London was still there was the punk wave. That's a
yeah,
fact. Or in Wales, it's probably more than 50 miles, but they went to the UK to do a proggy stuff. Whereas at the same time, London was burning.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a
I,
fact.
I mean, this is, you know, it's pretty much, uh, the, the story of my sort of musical journey in the 1970s. Because when when I was at school, when I was a teenager, so from probably the age of about sort of 14 or so, I was very much into prog rock. Absolutely love Genesis, yes, uh, Barclay James Harvest, and all of those all of those bands. I just thought they were great, and Wishbone Ashes Argus
Argus, yeah,
was one of
yeah.
my absolute favourite albums, and quite honestly, it still is. I think it's an album that it it's put together so well. It they're telling a story, and I just love the whole thing from. Hiya, Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Yeah, so we were, so me and my friends, that's what we were into, obviously, Pink Floyd. And then, there was this friction between sort of pop music, the music that you buy on singles and the music that you buy on albums. And it wasn't a total, it wasn't a sort of total fracturing, because David Bowie was somebody that you'd buy the albums and you'd also buy the singles. But there was a lot of other stuff. Slade. I didn't buy a lot of Slade albums, but I bought all the singles. I bought I bought the T-Rex singles, and then I was buying prog rock albums. But then, something happened late 1976, and I was listening to John Peel 4 nights a week, and it was punk, and that was it. I kind of abandoned prog as a genre that I was going to not. I wouldn't say I didn't abandon them as a genre that I would listen to, but I certainly wasn't buying.
You were obviously, I think you were following the stream. There is
Yeah.
this you already done on my stream. You were showing, and that was interesting to know what was happening in the UK and what was happening in the 22-ish-year-old Mike at the time. You were showing the last prog album you have bought from an artist, and the next one you did not, because there was some kind of something happened.
Yeah. I mean, this is it, and I mean, Genesis are one of those bands, but that they went through a sort of real sort of transition, and after Peter Gabriel left, it was there was a decline. I mean, they kind of held it together for 2 more albums, but then,
after Steve Hackett left, he was.
But then Steve Hackett went, and Steve Hackett is a virtuoso guitarist.
Yeah.
That was kind of it for me. When they went down to a 3-piece, no. But I wasn't really listening to or buying a lot of prog then anyway, because I was buying punk. It was punk singles in particular. And
is it also because from the way of life you had? Because when you live at home and your parents, and you have maybe your own bedroom, you have access to the stereo of your father. Is it because you were at a university, probably in a smaller? That's my assumption. I don't know how about your life. But as a teenage, typical American, when they go studying university, they don't have a lot of space. They are roommates, so they are likely more to buy 7-inch singles. Was it related in a way?
Well, okay. That's an interesting way of talking about it. Yeah. So it wasn't really that, because when I was at university, I didn't have a lot of money, and like most students, and and particularly when I was living in student accommodation, the space was negligible, really. A tiny room with space for a desk and a wardrobe and a bed, and that was it, really. So I remember I had one of those boombox cassette players, and I'd recorded a lot of my vinyl onto cassette, and then I was listening to a lot of punk then anyway. But the kind of transition really came because, I mean, so many people say this in the UK. It's because of John Peel. Because John Peel's always, he would always, I'd say, follow the trends, but in many ways he helped to create these trends by supporting artists. So, he kind of went from being a bit of a hippie, and you'd get, early on, I can remember that he would, he'd play a lot of psychedelic stuff, and then, Led Zeppelin and, prog and whatever. But then, he started playing unsigned punk bands. And, that really had a sort of an effect on me. I thought this is fantastic, because prog was getting quite a lot sort of overblown, really. It was really, really sort of very kind of inward looking, I think. I don't think it was really going anywhere as a musical genre. And then you get these records that are diametrically opposed to the whole prog thing. They were 2-3 minute singles. They were loud, they were noisy, and they weren't, the sort of virtuosity, of the musicians wasn't the thing; it was the attitude. And and I really love that. And there's a sort of story you probably know about. John Peel every year he would have his festive 50, and listeners would contact John Peel during the autumn, and you would nominate your sort of record, your song, to be in the festive 50. And it got to a point where Stairway to Heaven was going to be the number one record, it seemed, just about every year. And at that point, the whole thing was changed, and I think either it was Peel saying, "Well, it's got to be new music," or maybe I think he just sort of, they just chose the stuff themselves. So you got a far more representative sort of selection of records that were in tune with what was going on at the time. So it was really before I went to university, I was really getting into punk. But once I got there, yes, I mean, and there was a lot more opportunity, up here in Leeds to go to gigs, and that's what I did. So, rather than buying a lot of records, I was certainly listening to a lot of live music at that time, and it was great. And if I could time travel, that's where I'd go. 1977.
Yeah, I was. I recently watched a documentary. I think about was it the guy from Devoto magazine? Was it magazine or anyway? And he was talking about that era where he went like Prague and this spacey stuff like sitting in a mushroom was okay, but 76, 75, 77 was not the stuff we needed any longer. So
yeah. So the one thing I suppose I could claim to be there if I was being a bit dishonest, but I wasn't there because I wasn't living in Leeds at the time. I wasn't at university at the time. But when the Sex Pistols toured, and it was a very sort of controversial tour, that there was an itinerary of maybe, I don't know, 20 gigs, and then one after another, the local councils who were running the venues in the towns where they were going to perform withdrew their consent, for the Pistols to play there. But Leeds, and it was Leeds Polytechnic, I believe. Leeds was one of the few places where the Pistols actually got to play in that tour. But I wasn't in Leeds at the time. But I wish I had been, because you got the Damned were on the bill as well.
Yeah.
And some others. But yeah, it was it was a time of sort of like real upheaval, I think, musically, and particularly in the UK. But you wouldn't know it if you were listening to sort of mainstream daytime radio, or watching Top of the Pops. There was very little, so there was very little going on. But there were, if you were going to gigs, then that was it, and I loved it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I'm not a punk guy, as you know, but I enjoy the comp you sent me. You sent to my attention.
Oh, the yes, that's right. Yes, I forgot about that. Yes,
and they do an amazing work. Is that Soul Jazz?
Soul Jazz Records. Yes, Soul Jazz do so many great comps.
Yeah. There is this one from the German electronic music as well, which is also a very nice introduction. Yeah. So do you want to talk about? I think we will do be doing 5 more minutes and maybe call it a day since
Yeah, it'll be 10 o'clock then. Well, 10 o'clock here anyway.
yeah, since people have
Yeah,
had
yeah.
enough. I think people had enough of the two of us.
I'm sure they have. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, and
yeah.
and and, oh, and
We
when I
don't want to outstay our welcome, do we?
and when I say that
Oh,
comes a third
here we
fellow.
go. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I was watching the ping pong games. There were Team World Championships in Wembley.
Oh yes.
The semi-finals, China against France. So, yeah.
Right. Last time I spoke to you, Stunty, you had COVID.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That was some time ago then.
It was months and months ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were looking extremely rough. And, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I hope I look a little better.
Oh, absolutely. You're spot on today. Yeah. I noticed you mentioned Steve Davis in one of your comments early on.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an interesting character, isn't he?
He is, but also he's sort of like, I would argue, an ideal of how you want to grow old.
Yeah. Well, he's doing what excites him, isn't he?
Like, so he was basically so we went to Den Bosch together.
In
then
April,
he had
once
to
again.
go to do the the BBC commenting on the World Championships in Sheffield for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And now he's like 3 days later, he's back on tour, 18 dates throughout the UK.
Wow. Yeah.
And he keeps looking for music that challenges him. And that's basically, that's his gym, I would say, to a certain extent.
Yeah. Yes, I was. I've been watching Steve give his expert opinion on the snooker in Sheffield. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think I'm right in saying that he was very much into sort of, was it soul music? And
so he started in Canterbury. Like, his favorite band is the Gentle Giant.
right.
So he has so I've stayed at his place, so I've seen what he has. Like, he has like a sort of complete collection of all things Canterbury. Then he went into soul in the early 80s when he had snooker money, and he built a massive collection there that he doesn't really. He still enjoys the music, but he's not attached to the records anymore. So he uses them to finance his investigation of new music, avant-garde, experimental, electronic, and such.
Yeah. I remember some years ago he had a internet radio program.
I think he had like a radio program that maybe also was on the internet, but yeah. So he,
very much sort of, it seemed very sort of proggy, but sort of not the usual stuff.
He did proggy because that's what they let him
That's
do.
what they wanted, yeah.
Because like, oh, Steve Davis, and he's into that kind of stuff. So yeah, we don't have we'll give him a slot for that. And then he met Cavus, who's the current frontman of the Cardiacs and Gong, and they started to do the show together, and that expanded the spectrum a little bit, and yeah.
yeah. But it's an interesting move, isn't it? Because I'm sure that the vast majority of people, watching Steve at the Crucible Theatre in Sheffield, giving his expert opinion on the snooker, would have no idea about the musical side of his
It's
life.
so funny to hang out with him at a big record fair like Den Bosch, because there's all these people who know him, who come to him, and who have these expectations of what he's going to be buying, and they're like, "What?" Like, first off, they have no clue what it is that he's excited about, and well, that's the thing. They expect him to still be into the stuff that he was into 30 years ago, 40 years ago. But maybe that's not the best way to live your life, or that's what he thinks. I agree with that.
Yeah,
I think you guys agree with that as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
What is they just dropped an album last year. How was it?
Oh, so with his band Utopia Strong, I think they have 7 albums out now.
But the latest that came out in November, I guess, or December.
Yeah, something earlier than that, but yeah, it was the third studio album. Yeah, and the first one was amazing. The second one was so, and this third one is really, really, really good.
But how was it received? Because now people have more chance to maybe discover what is
it
the
was,
2026 Steve Davis like.
I mean, depends what you mean with. I mean, the label, they thought it would sell that many copies, and it sold out instantly, as you know. So basically, they didn't understand the potential of the album. So, yeah, I know it did well. Then it's on a small indie label, like not that small. It's on Rocket Recordings. Maybe. Is that slang for something in American or in English?
In Toronto? In Toronto?
I don't know. I don't know. It seems
you can't trust OGCs. He lives in Saint-Étienne, anyways.
In Saint-Étienne.
Yeah.
Allez les Verts.
But
Stunty will agree since he's from. Yeah. Okay.
No, it's a joke. Like, we don't
talk about soccer now. No, we don't.
Soccer, football. Fuck you, Romuald.
What? Fuck you! I live in North America. My channel is
but
big.
Like, come on, we know how we feel.
Yeah.
I got an interesting record this week, and it's a case for how digging online can be so exciting. Because you know how in the VC there's this whole discourse about like, oh yeah, like digging online, buying records online, it's boring. Like nothing beats like record stores and all that. Yeah. I mean, we've heard that like many times.
Yeah, I don't agree with that particularly, but my objection to buying online is it's too easy. Well, I could sit here and I could scroll through stuff and that I find really interesting.
Let me present you an equation where it's not that easy then.
Yeah, okay, go on then.
So, Mick Harris, Scorn, Napalm Death, Painkiller. So Mick Harris is a Brummie. So he started his musical career with Napalm Death. Then, quickly enough, he was invited by John Zorn, the New York saxophone player, free jazz, to be part of a band with Bill Laswell and John Zorn himself. So, like grindcore free jazz. And then he did his solo project called Scorn on Earache, like the big British metal label, like grindcore, that had, Napalm Death, Carcass, Bolt Thrower, and all these bands that were like huge in the late 80s, basically. And then he went on to do his solo project that was much different. And I learned through meeting other people who work with him, because Birmingham is a small musical scene. Like everyone knows each other, and at one point or another they cross the path or work together. And Mick Harris quite early on had like a very versatile music taste, and like he was listening to spiritual jazz, dub, industrial music. Like, I mean, he's a big Cocteau Twins fan, for example. So he had sort of a golden age with his Scorn project, which started with sort of like industrial metal and became more dubby, ambient, droney, and but also with beats that were basically, most experts would tell you that it's the foundation of what became dubstep later, that he invented it by himself without even knowing. And by 95, he had a falling out with his record label. So he had this album called Logi Bagori that was about to come out. They did the test pressing of it, and then they had a falling out, and it was never released on vinyl. Never. It was released on CD, but yeah. So at one point recently, so I follow him on social media, and I knew that there was this test pressing because it's on Discogs, and like it's like mythical. And recently he posted a picture of the test pressing on his social media, and all the fandom like went crazy, and some people said like, give me a number, I'll buy it from you. And he said, never, I'll never sell it. This is going to my daughter or granddaughter, whatever he was saying. And then sometime on the Scorn Facebook fan page, someone posted a promo thing of Scorn, and in the comments someone said, oh, I have this for sale, plus Logi Bagori. So it was not very well formulated, but I thought like, 3 weeks after this was published, I sent a message to that guy. So do you still have it? Yeah. But a friend of mine in Australia say that he was interested in, which basically means he has it and he's willing to part from it. And he told me, oh yeah, well, I'll have to check with him. And okay. And a few days later, I get back to him. Have you checked with your friend? Yes, I have. And actually, he's interested in that other promo thing. So you can have it. So it was just about this, then deciding what price this was worth.
Right.
And so the guy in question had it because he has a label that is doing dubstep, drum and bass, and he had released stuff from Mick Harris. So he visited him in Birmingham, stayed at his place, and Mick gave him one copy of the promo. And he wrote to me that like, oh, well, you know it's not a 20 euro record, huh? And I said, yeah, of course, yeah. But I also know you got it for free, I say. And he said, yeah, well, true that. And then he said, well, how about 60 euros?
What?
Yeah. So here it is.
Wow.
I made a mock-up. I printed the CD jacket of it, enlarged it, and glued it together. And here it is.
Wow. So how many copies are in existence then, do you know?
10.
Wow.
10.
Yeah.
How many still exist? I mean, the pressing plant sent 10 test pressings to the label, who gave Mick Harris 4 copies, and the rest that they sent to journalists or whatever, or they kept. So probably some of them don't exist anymore.
Right. So there's a maximum of 10, and probably quite a few other than that. Yeah.
Yeah, and but it's just like, you know, like you feel there's a great satisfaction when you get a record like that, because it is digging. It's just a different kind of digging. It's like keeping, you know, antennas up and then trying your luck. And there's still the bargaining, which was like, the guy was happy. I believe that the reason of why I got it so cheap is because the guy does a label himself, and he does, like, for him a test pressing is not a finished product, so it shouldn't be worth that much.
That's an interesting comment. What's your take on Sean's comment? Is it Is it a connection between Killing Joke and
I'm sure that
Scorn?
I love. For me, the best Killing Joke album is the second album as well.
Which is the one with
What's This For? It's called.
Okay.
It's kind of like a
space rock,
kind of photocopy. There's some green, some yellow, some red, but it's mostly black and white.
Okay.
Cover. Like
is that more industrial, more space rock? This one.
It's not space rock.
It's
more like a post-punk album, I'd say. It's
yeah?
not really industrial, but like industrial post-punk, depending how much you put the guitar forth. It's not a dub record either, but there's some dub aspects to it. There's zero metal aspect to it, I think.
Yeah.
But they went on, like in the early 90s, like they were way more metal than they were in the beginning, Killing Joke.
Yeah. Well, really, Birmingham is known primarily for metal, isn't it?
I bought this copy today. No shit.
Oh, very good.
No shit.
What is this? Is it a single?
Yeah, it's a 12-inch.
Yeah.
It's a 12-inch. Yeah, sorry about the glare. I know you hate that, Stunty.
I'm fine. I do it all the time as well.
No.
See, this kind of aesthetic, yeah. I only have 2 Killing Joke records that I kept. It's the Requiem 12-inch single and the second album that I think is like the best stuff they did. But they have good stuff. Yeah. And they also have the privilege of having toured with Joy Division. Quite many gigs they did together.
Never heard of this band.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah. That is a wonderful bit of online digging. Anyway, that is.
It's fun and it's a unique story, a unique way of digging. Like, and now I'm gonna be a bit snobby. Like lately, I've been like working heavily on getting records that were never officially released, that only have test pressings. That's kind of where I've been lately, which is, it could be like the
that's very niche, isn't it?
Yeah. It's, but when you've got a lot of record and like there's stuff exists and you manage to get these records that you thought you'd never have. So was
yeah. You know Jonas, don't you? Vinyl.com.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because he's really one for hunting down these private press originals.
And he pays good money for them. And
I know he does. Yeah.
He's doing trades. He's always like when he wants something. So his collection is very fluid.
Yeah.
But he's also mostly only into 2 types of music, into psych and indie.
Yeah. Folk a little bit as well.
Yeah. Folk and the kind of connected to psych folk, right?
Acid folk, English,
yeah. So a lot of the stuff that he shows are things that I'm interested in. And
it's funny, Nikki.
Albums that I'll never own.
Nick's comment here is quite funny to me because, like, he's totally right. But for me, Birmingham is Pram, is Surgeon, Scorn, Broadcast, Plone,
Judas Priest.
No, not for me. That's the thing. It's Birmingham is.
I know, not for you.
No, but that's what's funny about it is that Birmingham is the ultimate outsider city in the UK for musicians. Like, it's the most blue-collar city. It's way more like when people think Manchester is Manchester is a big hub. Like, it seems to me from all the interactions I had with Birmingham musicians is that like you stand no chance in making it in the music business if you're from Birmingham. That's
is-
like what you
Is
grew
that like
up.
is that like in Hamburg in Germany? And I'm not kidding. It's like
No, it's even worse.
okay, yeah.
No, it's really a horrible, depressing city when you want to be a musician. Apparently, considering that like everything is happening elsewhere.
Yeah.
But life
you
is
know,
not.
the artists that Nick has mentioned here, though, I mean, particularly the beat, of course. You have you have the whole two-tone thing just down the road in Coventry.
Yeah.
So
But
for that type of music, it was
but
no
out
doubt
of these
a
you
lot
mentioned,
easier to sort of make your way if you're still living in the Midlands.
but I would argue that like globally, Dexy is the only one who made it big out of these four bands. The other ones like they faded as their moment went, whereas Dexy's Midnight Runner still exists in pop culture.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think Kevin Rowland's, really evolved as a musician over time. He wasn't producing the same sort of music as he was, with Dexys when they were, when they suddenly became very popular. And he's better for that, I think, and that's it. Oh, Duran, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Dreadful.
I thought they came from Sheffield, but I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that they didn't. If they're coming from Birmingham, they probably didn't make it in Birmingham.
I know they wanted to be part of the game. I watched an interview when they were saying, "Hey, we also wanted to have success." And I know they come from the northern part of England, but I'm not sure which city.
Not be surprised if they moved to London very early on.
They had, yeah.
Mm.
So, but being a new romantic from Birmingham, that's a little bit.
It's funny because indeed the biggest band from Birmingham, Paul here is mentioning them, Black Sabbath, and there's a compilation. There's regularly compilations in Birmingham of indie stuff that is covering Black Sabbath. There's like a compilation of all these death metal grindcore band covering Black Sabbath, which features a cover by Scorn, which is pretty good. There's also like an indie compilation of covers of Black Sabbath, which has a Pram cover of Black Sabbath. It's their very first release. It's on a private press kind of indie compilation. It's a cover of Black Sabbath.
Right. Yeah.
Ah ben bientôt, Chihuahua. On va trouver un moment.
Maybe. But I can do the connection, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Birmingham, a hard city to live in, and Detroit with the Stooges and MC5.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're talking about sort of, cities of Birmingham and Detroit,
the Iron, the factory, the
motor industry was, was based in and around Birmingham in the UK. Yeah. So, and as you said, Stunty, it's a very, very blue collar city.
You're right. Human League.
Greg is making a joke here, so like, why does Stunty hate the working class? Like, I love the working class, and it makes me bridge with the discussion you guys had before with prog and all that. I must confess, for the few people who don't already know that prog is sort of like the worst idea as far as I'm concerned. I love the idea of progressive music, but I don't think that rock is the right avenue for that. Because like, if I want my rock and roll, I will listen to Bo Diddley, and if I want to have progressive music, I'll listen to Messiaen, Bach, Cecil Taylor. Yeah.
So the
yeah, I yes, I'm not sure what to make of that, Stunty, because I think
No,
you
I'm
probably
being really honest.
proved a point there.
No, I'm brutally honest about it. I know it's kind
Yeah.
of like it could be perceived as progressive, but if you go to the end line of the thinking, I think that a lot of cool stuff has emerged from prog rock, especially the soft machine type of stuff, but also some of the rock in opposition. But in the end, why do I need the rock excuse? If I want to listen to progressive music, there is so many other avenues that don't need this excuse. There's tons of blue collar music that I love.
Yeah,
I love dub. Dub is so blue collar. It doesn't get more blue collar than dub, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, when you talk about music being subversive, there are different sort of levels of subversion, aren't there? There's there's a whole sort of youth culture thing. The music that's going to piss off your parents. The music that the popular press is going to say that this is the end of civilization as we know it. But then you get you get a more sort of I hate to say this, more cerebral sort of subversion of music.
Yeah, but
where people
means
are messing around with genres and moving things in directions that they shouldn't go, or nobody thought of.
Yeah, I guess that for me, I really like rock when it's Bo Diddley. Rock is an American thing for me, and I like Nirvana. I really like that. I grew up with that. I still like it, but symphonic prog rock. Come on.
You started something, haven't you? It was going so well. It was just going so well, and then you've come and subverted it, haven't you?
No, but I mean, you know me. Like, if I meet someone who loves that, I'll have a great conversation with them, and I can say how I feel without
a weekly live stream with one of them.
Sorry?
You even started to have this weekly live stream with one of them. I'm talking about myself.
You're not like a. I don't perceive Romuald as a symphonic prog head.
Oh,
that's something. No, I don't perceive you like that way. I think that is part of your path, part of your journey, and that the journey is.
He's taking me elsewhere. Yeah, he's taking me elsewhere. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And why not? Go wherever you want. That's the thing. Whatever takes your fancy, and go with it.
Yeah, and I'm the French guy who's constantly been suspicious of Magma, even if I have a lot of records adjacent to Magma, but proper Magma record. Like, the first Magma record I got, was given to me by Steve Davis.
All right.
Yeah. It's a solo Christian Vander double LP, and that he told me he never tried to make me listen to Magma.
The problem I have with Magma, whenever I see a live performance, on even when they were playing on the TV on a theater, I instantly enjoyed hearing and see what I see. But as a studio album, having this, it turns me off. Ooh, I said something maybe now.
No. I mean, it's better to be honest, and
I am
otherwise
honest,
we end up talking about the same 3 bands or 10 bands. That we're all gonna agree that the Beatles have a shitload of good songs, but do we need to talk about them all the fucking time? Yeah.
No, we don't need to talk about them at all. But the worst crime is to stand still musically. I think that is that's when you might as well just give up. I think. When people say, "Oh, music today, it's not like it used to be."
Also, we all, I think, are aware that there are different types of status quo around in music, culture, collecting culture. we know that people obsess about Pink Floyd, about the Beatles, about prog rock, about psych, and when you go against the, how do you say, the grain, against the, what's the expression?
Les vaches sacrées. Holy cow.
No, when you go against the current or whatever,
The stream.
like some
the
might
stream.
perceive it as provocation or defiance, but it's not. It's also, I like, really, honestly, from my perspective, it's just showing there's other perspectives, other ways. Like, if you feel that this is like provocation, that's on you. That's not on me.
If you do it in a corporate or in a company type of environment, like we all discuss about something, we all agree, and someone raised a flag, it is called to open the Pandora box.
Yeah, but the VC needs that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
Zeb in the comment, I know exactly, or I know pretty much what he likes. I know what he likes that I don't, and I can, like, I respect him. He respects me. I think, and it's more healthy to, because also there's a better chance that he recommends me something that I will end up liking if he actually knows what I don't like, rather than push to me what he likes the most. There's tons of stuff that I love that I don't push on other people, because I think, yeah, this is really a me thing. I understand that this doesn't have the potential, like, universal appeal that it doesn't, but I have, because of background, personal history, I love that. I'm not going to try to convince everyone that this is the best thing that everyone should listen to.
No. I mean, that's pretty futile to do that sort of thing. But I think what is really interesting is to, if you know somebody's musical taste sort of well enough, that you can find something that it's just outside of that, and say, try this. I think you'd like this. So it's kind of not way over there, something that is just so that is going to be anathema to to whoever it is, but something that's close enough, but far enough away to be sort of different and interesting.
It's just that I've experienced, like I hope you guys have as well, on our respective scales. Like, every time you've identified something that you officially don't like, a genre that this is not for me, the day you find an entry door to it and that you genuinely enjoy some of it, that's the feeling of it. Is, for me, it's when I feel the most free. It's conquering your own limits.
I know what you mean. That there's enough music out there, isn't there, where you know an artist, but what you've heard doesn't really do it for you at all, and you think, no, it's not for me. And then, as you say, you might hear something else that you didn't know about, and you think, well, this is actually quite good.
Yeah, I'm not talking about artists. Like, I know that, like, Rush is not for me, so I don't even try. Like, if one day I happen to hear something that I kind of, oh, this is actually not too bad, well, great, but that's not going to change my life. What changed my life is growing up as a teen with Nirvana as my, like, compass, and Khaled as the devil. And the day I realized, oh, actually, I love this. 25 years later, if not, then I thought, oh shit, this is amazing to feel. Not the music is great, but it's amazing to suddenly conquer your own prejudice.
Yeah. I mean, I was a bit like that with dance music.
Oh.
I decided that it was just totally sort of like diametrically opposed to everything that is good about music. It was just, it's just not
worth real drums.
Exactly. It's just not worth the effort. And then, years later, you listen to stuff and you think, why would you, why did I not listen to this stuff at the time?
Yeah, and also I think another great liberating thing is like when you love an artist, to be able to, oh, this is not bad, but I don't need this. The new record, like to be able to basically, like most artists only have like 2 or 3 good records in them.
Yeah,
most of them.
Well, that's the thing, because you have to do that if you're a person that's always looking for something new, and you're always open to sort of new music, new ideas. That you have to know when to get off the bus with other bands, and that's happened to me so many times, sort of over the years, that
And don't you feel great?
I thought, you buy an album and you think, oh, that was okay, but why did I actually buy this?
But don't you feel empowered when the record is in front of you, you listen to it, you love the artist, and you decide not to buy it? For me, I feel so empowered when I managed to, like, no, like, I'm programmed to buy this, but I managed to stay out of it.
Yeah. That's right. It's all about being yourself, isn't it? Being true to yourself, being honest with yourself about.
But I would like make a slight variation to what you say. It's all about discovering yourself.
Well, yeah.
Because when you know too much who you are, I'm a prog head, and I like basically entrenching the barriers that are already culturally there for whatever reason.
Yeah. It's something that's a lot easier to do the older you get, I think. And I can imagine, when I was at school, when I was a 14-year-old with all my friends, and we were all listening to the same sort of music. If I had suddenly said, and I wouldn't have said it anyway because it wouldn't have been true, but if I'd suddenly said, this prog rock, it's not really all that, is it? I think I go and listen to something else. And then, the peer pressure is just so powerful, that it's difficult sometimes to break away from that sort of thing when you're very young.
Yeah.
When you're old as well, in French television, we have a program called Taratata, who Stunty knows very well, and you have artists like installed part of the landscape forever. So it's basically you are forced to see them latest albums, even if it's not good, even if the latest great stuff came 20 years later, they are still there. They are there and there and ever and ever.
Yeah.
I tell you, yeah.
But I think you and I were talking. Well, we were talking privately about this sort of thing, about 1980s sort of bands that are still doing the same stuff that they were doing 45 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's big business. In the UK, there are bands of people in their 60s who are.
There's even worse. There's bands from the 60s, like the Rolling Stones, who are still. So it's not. I'm just making the point that it's not specific to the 80s. It's specific to.
No. But I think there's a particular thing about the 1980s that one of the BBC radio stations, Radio 2, seems to be totally fixated by 1980s pop. And
a certain type, because I'm pretty sure that he was not playing a Wire. He was probably not the.
No. They're playing, they're playing Duran Duran. They're playing, all that sort of stuff. Spandau Ballet.
Ballet.
Weirdly enough, I think for me, in so many ways, the 80s is the greatest decade for music. But the thing is that most of the stuff that we hear about is like maybe maybe the
it's
worst.
Terrible. yeah. But that's nearly always the case. You know, the most popular music of any decade is not necessarily, and almost certainly never is, the most interesting.
Yeah, but like the amount of new exciting ideas in popular music during the 80s is off the charts. And also in more experimental stuff.
We never hear that, for instance, 1986, indie rock.
I'd never heard of them.
4AD, Factory influence, New Order, early New Order influenced, Depeche Mode. Yeah, indie rock band from Rochester, New York. Never hear that, for instance. We never hear Fat Gadget.
And Fat Gadget we hear. Fat Gadget, he had a couple of like collapsing new people.
Collapsing people, yeah.
You can hear that on radios.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
In Sweden, but not here.
No, in Paris, I remember.
I nearly bought a Fat Gadget album this morning.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're one of the Leeds bands, one of the art school bands.
You know, Mike, sorry.
Don't call me Nick.
A British band that I remember when I was a teenager, I found like secondhand records of theirs, and I knew the name, so I was intrigued. I bought them, and I never enjoyed them. And decades later, I found the first mini album from the singer, which was my issue, the singing. I didn't like the singing, and I liked it. And recently, like this week, literally, again, 3 records by this singer that he did with Mick Harris, Scorn, Napalm Death, that came out in the late 90s, that back then I thought they were boring, and now I find them extremely exciting. Eyeless in Gaza.
Oh, right. Right, yeah. Eyeless in Gaza, one of John Pill's favorites.
An acquired taste, I would say. It took me a while.
Absolutely. I can't say they're a favorite of mine, but they're not really. You know, they've never really been on my radar. You know,
unique voice, like the singing.
Yeah.
Like when you start to enjoy it, like there's literally nothing that sounds like him.
Yeah. But this is it. That you can.
It's typically an 80s band.
Yeah, you can let music just pass you by, and decades later, you come back to it, don't you? And you think, why wasn't I listening to it then?
Well, some stuff you need distance,
distance and time is
and different perspective. Because, for example, I can hear stuff in it that I really enjoy now that back then I didn't even knew existed. So it was not a reference point. But the reference point was the other rock bands I was listening to, or indie bands I was listening to in the early 90s.
Right.
Or we need a VC. We need guys like Ben Rankings talking about Australian band. We would never have any idea of had he not started a channel.
I mean, the VC can be great. And
I like the can be great.
Yeah.
Make the VC great. No, I didn't say that.
No. Don't get a baseball cap with that on.
No, sorry.
No, but like, how do you gauge if the VC is great or not? Like, what would be the metric? Like, of course, there's different metrics. Like, if it's about the popularity of a channel, about numbers. Like,
no, that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
That's achievable. There's formulas to do that.
That's when a guy admits, not praise to the sky all the time. When say, "Hey, I like this stuff, but I didn't like and why and before and why and so forth." And provide you with some point that helps you guide into your why should I try this one or not, or if I'll try. Simple as that. having a certain identity is important, and we all know that. But Mike told me something very interesting. We talked behind the scene, and he said, yeah, some channel, it seems like the music they listen to or they talk about doesn't affect them. They will talk about, but
Interesting.
yeah. So
yeah. I mean, do you understand what I mean? You know, that it's just a sort of, it's just like a process. You know, the music goes in, but nothing. It doesn't really stir anything. And
my favorite word about describing art that like I'm interested in is disruptiveness.
Yeah.
If it's not disruptive, why should I even bother?
Yeah. I mean that's one of the that's one of the big problems of the vinyl community, is that I think and I may be doing people a big disservice, and obviously I'm not going to name anybody, but there are so many channels where I think people show records and they're almost saying, yeah, I have this as well. I have this as well as you. And so it becomes a club, and you're a member of the club by virtue of ownership of a particular album or a particular band's sort of discography.
But as soon as you have what you described, that also means you have a hierarchy, a vertical one. When one is on top, or some are on top, and that's when you see that, it's unhealthy. Whereas I think the best way, like what we try to do with Romuald all the time, is to, like, when you present something that is obvious, that people need you or need someone to get introduced to that music too, because like no one needs us to listen to the Kings. No one. Like, if you want to find the Kings, it will happen. But if I talk about Eyeless in Gaza, it's not about just giving the information that, oh, this exists, but it's also about, look, you can listen to it. It's not just that it exists, but there's people who actually have found great value to that. I'm one of them, and I'm gonna either share the knowledge or the joy, the feelings, the emotions.
Hi, Jonas. We were just talking about your how worst is your channel earlier. No, you're a great guy. We were praising channel.
Oh,
and by making that, Stunty, sometimes we get some comments like the mainstream type of VC. They say, yeah, you are a snob about this kind of music because you don't talk about that. And it's not because
it's the opposite.
It's the opposite, because I received this record yesterday. Okay, a guy I work with gave me a copy. I enjoy this record, but I will probably not talk about this one on my channel because
yeah.
I don't bring I bring nothing to the table. I enjoy, but
I like some songs by Mel and Kim. I love some songs by Mel and Kim. FLM, produced by the Infernal Trio that everyone deems in the UK that they ruined pop music in the 80s.
I think the Kid of Waterland.
Yeah, but they did some incredible stuff as well.
Yeah, but they were, it's difficult to underestimate just how influential they were for that during that period. The pop music charts were just full of stuff that they'd written and produced. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
But it's really coming down to that, like the reason, like finding a reason to do VC stuff, and finding good reasons, virtuous reasons, I guess.
I guess we have found Mike, you, Stunty, Fred, myself. We have found we share. We love to discover. We love to enjoy, and we love to share. Other people who are not in this kind of mood or doesn't seem to assign this kind of task, they find other happiness doing that,
Yeah, yeah,
being a club,
absolutely.
and it's fine, and it's totally yeah.
But you know, the one thing that sometimes comes up is like, why does your opinion matter more than mine? Well, first of all, none of us are claiming that. It's for up to others to decide if it is or if it isn't. The deciding factor, I guess, would be just how much we confront ourselves, how often, like the statistic part of it. For example, the other day, so for a long time in my life, I've known about Stylie Scott. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
The Jamaican drummer. He was part of most of Adrian Sherwood's projects in the 80s, since the late 70s. And I think he passed away in the mid 2010s or something like that. He's on hundreds of recordings. When you hear a dub record, when you hear a dub record with him, his sound, his way of treating live, his drumming is unique. And I love it. Doesn't mean that I will love every record he is on. But thanks to YouTube, to Soulseek and other device and Discogs, you can know what exists, and then you can check it out. But that takes time.
Yeah.
And people like us, well, I do take the time. Like, I spent like a good chunk of my available time to listening to music in the past for 1.5 weeks, listening to everything that Stylie Scott had done, so that I could, and then I identified a bunch of records. I think I really need that, and then I share it.
Yeah. I mean, talking about sort of, Jamaican musicians that, back in the, back in the 70s, I really got into reggae music in a big way. And of course, Sly and Robbie would turn up on so many albums. And, sort of later on, I started discovering sort of stuff that, Sly and Robbie or one or other of them, were on music that wasn't reggae at all.
Mm.
And and things sort of, progress that way, or you can develop, expand your horizons a little bit, just because there's a connection to something that you know already.
Yeah.
Mm. But I guess I was thinking about the earlier aspect of your conversation about like the relevancy, the influence, the potential influence of the VC channels, and when they can be, when they can matter, and what do you put in a VC channel that makes it relevant or matter, either globally or specifically, and all that. And I think it will be always not just the passion for music, but the dedication.
Yeah.
Because in the end, YouTube is just a medium. It's just a media like any other. So you basically have a potential audience of reaching out, which is massive, and you will do so either because of your personality or your skills / knowledge, or a combination of the two.
Well, building a collection and taking the time to record, to making video, we all have a certain amount of dedication we are coming up with.
Yeah,
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
To some extent, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know you, Romuald, like that. Sometimes when you discover something, you go into a deep dive, and almost as homework. Not everyone does that.
Yeah, I read book, watch documentary, and
No, but even in the VC, like
that's right.
You take the opportunity you have with these new tools we have. You take them to their full advantage with the time you have available, obviously. But
I do it not only for music. Basically, when I want to repair my amplifier or to learn a new recipe, that's because it's how I do.
Yeah,
and
well, it's a resource, isn't it? You know,
it is. Yeah, it is,
and it's a great one.
The only thing is the problem I have is the time, so it's very limited at the moment.
Yeah,
and but that's la vie, as we say.
Yeah, it's la vie, and it's choices, and there's no judgment there. Like if someone decides to have a career in academia and have like whatever, like you make some choices in life. Not everyone has choice, and I acknowledge that also. Like the class class society structure in the UK, like it's something. But and now I'm only talking about the Western world, but really it's when I put myself in the position of being able to spend 7 hours a day to listen to music, it's a choice, which has also some consequences in my life.
You have to make choice, and you have to organize your life in a way that you will be able to do that.
Yeah.
I would love to have 8 hours every day at my disposal to listen to music, absorb them, and making videos, sharing with the VC in the best possible way. But it's simply not possible for me at the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't blame, and it's only because.
But wait, would you love to have that and not have the job security you have? That's where the choice comes into play.
Yeah.
Because like if suddenly days were like 36 hours and you could do both, but the reality is that in most cases
that's what I love. When I will get retired one day, having enough money, no kids at home, winter in Canada long, I will probably using this time to certainly to enjoy, or to do that actually.
Yeah. I mean, why do you think there are so many old men in the vinyl community? You know, we have
time.
We have time. You know, and
I would hope that Romuald is still in the young man category, and I'm kind of in between.
Absolutely, you're sort of yes, you're in the middle somewhere, Stunty. Yeah. I'm certainly at the decrepit end of the scale. Yeah, but I mean,
hope
there's a question that was asked there about, you know, sort of like, you know, should you be asking who decides what? Who's deciding which bands or genres we hear? I think that's a question that used to be really, really pertinent. You know, before the internet, and I think it's still pertinent now, but for a different reason. But before the internet, that you know, I got my musical influences from friends, but my friends were getting their musical influences from the same places. So it would be
John Peel,
John Peel, you know, a couple of other sort of radio shows from the weekly music press, and you know, you had to really go out of your way to discover anything sort of really different.
That's when the 7 hours a day come in.
Yeah, but nowadays, you know, you've got the whole world out there, haven't you? You've got, you know, the internet can bring you sort of just about anything. But the challenge there is to actually sort of search for this stuff in a sort of in a proper way. and to actually make a decision that
Yeah.
I'm going to find something interesting. I'm not going to just
but you
search
see
for the stuff I already know.
you see what happens in the VC, because okay, we can blame maybe the 70s without the internet, having only limited access, being in a small remote town in Canada. But now, even with the power, with the tools, with the VC channel, with you, me, Stunty, Fred, talking about, showing, introducing, people are still reluctant. Whereas
Less
they
than
have time,
before.
whereas they have money, whereas they could maybe enlarge their territory, getting out of their comfort zone, they still don't do that.
I think it's. I mean, you're a little younger, and from my perspective, it's getting much better, much better. But to Mike's point, um,
Stop calling him Nick.
yeah,
He
I will
lost
try.
against Mazzy, so that's no.
But it's just because Nick is here, and Nick's
Yeah.
young
Yeah,
mind that won't vote for reform because
yeah,
Nick has a
yeah,
young mind, so he can't
yeah,
vote for reform. Thank
yeah,
you, Nick.
yeah. That comment, Nick, about your mind and your body, I can vouch for that. Everybody,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
I know this man.
and yeah, but what if I understood correctly what Mike was saying, like the before and now. Recently, I did again a stream like this on my channel. I'm gonna do one like this once a month, I think, again. And I was having a discussion about how, yeah, there's a million things out there right now. So the amount of time to process it all. But we can do it from home. Back then, you had to listen to the radio, you had to buy the magazines, you had to go to the record store. So in the end, I think that the trade-off in terms of how much time you invest, in before even starting to enjoy the music is more or less the same.
No, it's ticked. When you had the newspaper or the magazine on Tuesday, you had to wait until Saturday to listen to the record. It's ticked. Now we can instantly discover crash testing, but it goes from one year to another. And sometimes the amount of information doesn't stick in the brain. It just flows through. And I had the same problem when
It
you
was
try.
the same in the 80s, 90s,
Are you
from my
sure?
experience.
Are
Yeah.
you were at the record store? You had a chance to listen to 5 seconds and to talk about that.
It
And you
was
had,
not everyone who was at the record store. That's the thing.
or even the Fnac, or it changed. It changed. Fnac, for
Oh,
instance. Yeah.
I'm sure you can imagine how frustrated on a daily basis the guys who were or girls who were working at Fnac doing exactly what you're saying and seeing the people. I had that experience working in a store, a techno store, with like people ask you for a recommendation and you give them all these recommendations and they leave the store with the two records they already knew.
Yeah.
That's always been like that.
That's because you were not Philippe Manœuvre.
You would ask Philippe Manœuvre. It's just about, exactly. When I experienced that, I realized that I was not a high enough authority figure for these people.
Yeah.
Because in the end, as Mike was saying earlier, what most people want with their music is a sense of belonging. They use music as a cultural marker for belonging. And if someone who has authority on them, positive or toxic, says this is good, they will get it to belong. That's the fundamental dynamics of how we let art enter our lives. And
It still works today. If I talk about something really brilliant on the channel, I will have a certain exposure. It will interest a certain amount of people. If tomorrow Norman Maslov talks about the same record, not good or bad, but just facts, more people will discover. More people will watch the video. More people will try to listen to this record. Fact.
But you still have to to manage to build yourself up into, hopefully in a virtuous way, an authority figure for people. Otherwise, they will listen to their friend or to some, like, I mean, there's very few people who accept advice or like from a total stranger.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
because
made
why would they? Why would they?
That's
Would
true,
you?
but no, but you know, I occasionally, come across a VC channel that I don't know, and somebody might be talking about something, and I think, yeah, that interests me.
But that means that it's a VC channel, and you already put some, like, it's a VC channel, so it already means something to you. It's not completely nothingness. It's someone who dedicated time to do that, so, which you sometimes do as well, so you can relate to that.
That's true, but I don't really understand what you mean then. If it's not, if it's not people going out of their way to do that, who are these people that are
Do you think that
giving
John
unwanted
Peel?
advice?
Do you think that John Peel went out of his way to recommend? And I mean globally. Like, I'm not talking about intention, but like the result. Of course, he went out of his way. That was his job.
Yeah,
and that was his life. Like, all his friends were probably musicians and artists. He had created, willingly or like intentionally or not, a network, a system that brought up to the surface the
yeah,
new stuff to him.
of course, and not least, Peel had that reputation, so that people would send their
Exactly.
demo tapes into him to listen to, because they knew they had a chance that he would play that music. But again, it's all about choices, isn't it? Decisions are made. That I'm sure Peel received, maybe 10 times as many demos, through his letterbox than he actually sort of played on his radio show. So he's making, he was making choices, and that's what happens all the time.
I'll give you an example about the choice, because choice is one thing, but the freedom around these choices is the crux here. So when I was 16, I got hired by a radio station in Paris to basically do the curation of a 4-hour indie show. It was not only music. There was some, we were playing the charts, we were having interviews, and then there was an hour and a half where I was choosing the records and the tracks for the week, every week. So the reason why they hired me was because of how deep I was digging and how I was into the stuff that was current and of the time. And then I was in the position of, like, now I'm the guy who chooses what plays on the radio, which also means that I'm getting like 120 promos per week from the big companies that I have to process, which leaves me, which doesn't leave me the time to do what got me hired to do that.
Right. So it's kind of almost self-defeating then, isn't it?
Yeah. So that means that, like, in the end, it's not just about the choices, but the freedom. Have you managed to keep yourself in a position where either you're not influenced at all by the hype, the lobbying, or that you have enough time to process enough stuff that in the end, like, the good stuff emerges, and that you manage to not have loyalty to friends and business connections.
I know exactly what you mean. So it's it's very difficult, but I think that for me, sort of my choices when I might discover a type of music, I might discover a band. It's not always because somebody else has talked about it, but it might have just come up on YouTube, and then I think, well, why has this come up on my YouTube page?
Yeah,
and it's an algorithm that is is telling me, you might like this, Mike. So nothing is sort of pure and simple, is it? There's always a mechanism behind it.
I guess on YouTube, the biggest music talking figure would be Anthony Fantano. Whether we watch him or not, we know about him.
Yeah.
How did he get that big? I won't go in. I'm not an Anthony Fantano specialist, but what I know is that he has, I've got glimpses of him showcasing interest in music that hasn't already made it. But the position he is in now, he talks about the stuff that everyone knows. He gives his take on the latest Taylor Swift, like these people who don't need him. But people are interested in his take. So that's for him to decide if he's wasting his time doing that. And I don't know what his goal is. If his goal is still growing through music or growing his channel, which are two separate things. Could be the same, but not the same pace then. I suspect that I wouldn't say he's a sellout because what he does might still have some value to people, but he's definitely not someone who, he's not a John Peel, not at all.
No. Yeah. I mean, that's it. And I mean, I think to a certain extent that we all like to think that, we make our own minds up independently, but it's more complicated than that.
It's more complicated than that, and as the more you're aware of that, the more you can identify the triggers, the biases, and all that. I mean, you can't be completely free, but if you think about it constantly, when you discover new music, you stand a better chance to at least regain or retain some of that freedom.
Yeah, of course.
And that's very precious, I think.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, I mean, this is going back to when I was probably, 13 or 14 years old. And the Top of the Pops in the UK, weekly sort of chart singles show. And it was about half an hour. So choices, obviously, editing choices were made. And I can remember that, I was really sort of, myself and my friends, we were really invested in the whole sort of singles chart thing. And it was, it was important to us that the records that we were buying were going to be the ones that get into the charts. But there was another side to it, that there was the choices that Top of the Pops made about which of the records in the top 30 they would play each week. And I can remember at the time, we would be saying, there's a bias here, that they deliberately don't play these artists because they want people to listen to this other stuff that isn't the stuff that we like. And and I think there clearly was their editorial decisions made, because they have to be. But it's wherever you go, there's always something that there's not so much a barrier, but a hurdle that you have to sort of get over to sort of to get that sort of purity of choice, really.
Yeah, and to add to your equation, there's also the fact that that show, that 30-minute weekly show, was well aware of its media environment, which meant not as many radio stations as a few years later, also fewer TV stations, so that there was not like much competition, so they were comfortable in their own biases and conservatism, since there was not really much challenge to them.
Yeah. And there was a, again, Top of the Pops had a, particular audience. It was, it was early evening on Thursdays, and it was very much a sort of, it was treated as a, a mainstream entertainment program. It wasn't a serious music program as such. So yeah, so much. So much happens, behind the scenes that if you think about it too deeply, you just feel that you're being totally manipulated, and your mind isn't your own. You're really just some robot that sort of does the will of the deep state, or whatever.
You know what? It's interesting, because what you're saying, it's true what you're saying. I guess the best solution to that is not something you would necessarily associate too much with music passion and all that, but it would be something that you would associate with King Crimson: discipline.
Yeah. Somebody said, I can't remember which artist it was, who said that being in King Crimson was like being a member of a cult.
Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Not sure who it was. It'll come to me, but
Guy, it's over 3 hours, so we'll let everyone showing a last album, the last piece, briefly talking about that, including myself, and we will be hitting the button.
Right. Okay. We're definitely going in a minute. I'm right.
Yeah. No, it's too late over here. I have to go prep for the supper. Supper's ready. Or supper is not ready. You can tell.
Yeah.
Okay. Study. You haven't showed a single. Okay. Soca.
No, it's Jean-Claude Nemro was probably one of the two main musicians or composers in Casal. I think this is his first solo album. I mean, he's in hundreds of Zouk records. This one there's Zouk aspects to it, but there's also like sort of minimal funk, synthetic funk, and it's a Zouk record, but it's also just great funk music from the 80s, and it's super cheap. It's kind of under the radar, obviously, if you're not into Zouk. If you're into Zouk, you know this. This is sort of there's tracks on this that would make you feel like the first time you listen to some of the big Michael Jackson tracks, I would say.
Right.
Is that on celluloid like the first Castle album?
No, this is on the Sono.
Okay.
Sono disc.
Yeah.
It's and it's a record you can find for €5. In a shop, maybe you pay 15, but not more than that.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting, because Zouk is one of those sort of Caribbean genres that didn't really get a lot of traction in the UK. Probably because it was French.
Yeah. You had
most likely,
it was part of colonial France rather than colonial Britain.
In the UK, you had the two-tone, the reggae, and all that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I mean, Jamaica. Like if you're talking about the West Indies, then obviously
but this is also the West Indies.
Was Jamaica.
But this is also the West Indies, just a little souther. It's Martinique.
Yeah, I know, but it's French. It's French. We don't do French stuff in the UK, especially since Brexit. Anyway,
Michael, you're next.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there we go. A bit of Irish folk duo, Tina Nog. This is
That sounds from French Brittany. Huh? So
Yeah.
you're kind of doing more French than you realize there.
yeah. So there you go. That's them. So they again, it's sort of very much sort of quite sort of gentle sort of folk music, and but there are influences here with from all over, particularly sort of North Africa and sort of Asia. Because
nice.
you got tabla playing on here, and Moroccan pottery drums, and again, these are people who were greatly influenced by that kind, but by their travels, I think, and they
What year is that from?
Sorry, what year?
is that from?
1971, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the on the chrysalis label. Yeah, 1971. Yeah, there you go. On the chrysalis.
Considering Clément's comment here and what you just said about we don't do French in the UK, remind me what was the very first release on Rough Trade Records?
Oh right, there you go. Yeah. It was a tongue-in-cheek comment. You do realise that, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
I don't really mean it. Although some of my sort of fellow sort of UK citizens will probably think that's right. Oh yes.
Yeah, that's an album I should have started. One of the Pentagle albums should have started. In my taste, one of the best 1969 album. It doesn't never appear in any.
It looks like a live album.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's the Pentagle third album, because in '68 they dropped two efforts. Pentagle at its finest, very accessible. My favorite album of Pentagle, definitely. Combination, it's folk with jazz syncopation. We have also like very very vaporous stuff. Two genius at the guitar.
Yes.
Mr. John Renburn and Bert Jensch. Drummer. Am I so bad today? He passed away last year. Danny Thompson, and Terry Cox, who also recently.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
yeah. I mean that's an album. It's probably got their most famous tune on it, which of course is "Light Flight," because that was used as a theme tune for a BBC drama program.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, called "Take Three Girls" in the early 1970s, I think. Yeah.
So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Mike for once again being such a great panelist. Thanks Stunty. Great to see you back on the channel.
Yeah.
And
it was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Opinionated.
Right.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.